The 24-hour store was empty at this time of day, a perfect opportunity to take a break. But it was not meant to be. A pack of cigarettes was carelessly thrown onto the checkout counter. "Give me my money back," the woman in the shabby sweater grumbled brazenly. The young student looked like easy prey, but instead began demanding a check. Crossing her arms over her chest, she began to demand money even more insistently. Just cigarettes. Why unnecessary checks? She got angry. When a young student asked her about the reasons for the return, the citizen completely lost her temper, slammed her hand on the table and spat saliva, demanding her own. But the guy didn't flinch. He stood his ground. He needed a receipt confirming the purchase in this store, to which the grumpy aunt just waved her off. The student completely refused. "All documents must be taken with you when you leave the house," the impudent woman sarcastically said. "But no one throws them away," the boy objected. He was quite tired of these loud attacks. What if these cigarettes were bought around the corner, where it was cheaper? How can he trust her without a receipt? The student directly objected to her. Did he just call her a liar? The aunt was indignant. She played well as if she were deeply offended. "I'll bombard you with complaints, no respect," she screamed, her shrieks ringing in his ears. It's good that there are no other visitors, the guy thought. The fly swatter hit the cash register counter right in front of her. "Damn annoying flies, they just keep crawling." The boy cheerfully waved away the non-existent flies. Realizing that the scam had failed, the woman quickly retreated to look for another victim, leaving the empty pack at the checkout. "There are so many crooks, you have to keep an eye on them," the young man thought, looking after the citizen. "You're slacking off at work, lazybones," his friend said as he returned from his workout. "Were you working the punching bag again?" the guy asked, looking at his friend's face. If only he could see the other guy's face, it was just sparring, his friend bragged. "You're busy, you go to extra classes and you also train," the boy muttered enviously. "But he also works and studies," the friend objected. They beat him up. "But he is as happy as an elephant, he likes the pain," the student asked. "He performed a shadow boxing. Words cannot describe it," said a friend. "If he tried it at least once, he would immediately understand. He was famous at school. Why not try himself in mixed martial arts?" suggested a friend. "But that's a fight," the student waved it off. "I used to do a lot of work, didn't I?" my friend insisted. Because he knows well what he's talking about, the boy looked away. So he hasn't let go of his past, his friend thought, looking at the cashier. No, the buddy resigned himself, changing the subject so as not to embarrass the boy. "Come and cheer?" the student heard and was surprised. "Will there be a fight?" he asked. A professional match, his friend proudly declared, in a fight club, was bursting with excitement. "If he wins, will he become a pro, really?" his friend asked again. "It seems quite easy," he said. And his friend could not stand it. "So much work, it is not easy," his friend objected. "Sounds cool, that's what he wanted," the boy answered with a hint of sadness. That was once his dream too. "And he really still worries about it," his friend noted, but kept quiet. "Come see it. It's better than on the screen," they offered the guy, and he agreed. "Excellent." The friend did not lose heart, and patted him on the back with a strong hand. "If so, go to work." The student waved goodbye and went home. The cool night air refreshed his thoughts. How long had it been since he had thought about this? Hui Sung asked himself. This slob will become a pro, the guy thought. Sounds not bad. On the day of the fight, he arrived early and found the right place, near the office buildings. Hui Sung looked at the sign and read it several times to make sure he wasn't mistaken. What a hole, the guy thought. They put up a banner over the entrance to the basement, and even posted guards, Hui Sung noted. It was his first time here and he was embarrassed to come in right away, so his friend called him right away. "I'm not lost," they answered cheerfully on the phone. "Come in since you're here," the fighter said. "Just go in," Hui Sung realized. His comrade was busy preparing. It was no better inside. A dusty, stuffy basement, Hui So assessed with disappointment after all. This was an amateur league. "Let's watch the fight of my brother," and the guy decided to go home. There's no point in staying in these dusty walls. As dark as a black man's pockets, Hui So walked barely without stumbling down the narrow stairs. From inside came noise, hubbub, dozens of people, shouts, music. Hui So pushed the doors. The crowd screamed, drowning out everything else, the echo amplified by the acoustics of the basement. But the first thing he noticed was the fight that was already going on in the cage. One fighter just took a powerful hook to the jaw, snapping his head back. Song Hui couldn't tear his gaze away. Something stirred deep inside him. The fighter didn't slow down and swung for a hook, and he himself hit him in the solar plexus with a beautiful uppercut, a clean blow that knocked the sweat out of his opponent. He threw a quick right hook to finish off his opponent, but he quickly dodged it. Hui So's heart pounded wildly inside her, sending adrenaline rushing through her veins. Another fighter raised his knee to fake a body punch. He could still fight. Instead of a lower kick, he threw an upper kick, powerfully twisting his hip, and it clanged hard into the jaw. To the roar of shouts, the referee gestured to announce the end of the fight and its winner. He raised his hands in triumph. After a hard fight, he was happy with the victory. The sweet moment of victory was shared by all the spectators. Hui So felt it. The long-forgotten flame that burns in the soul of every fighter. He clenched his fists and froze in delight. A friend caught Hui So looking at the empty octagon. I recognize that look, he thought. Are you enjoying it? He asked the guy, who stood frozen like a statue. The slacker friend looked completely different. He came out with his trainers. What a look! Today we will drink beer, the friend cheerfully pushed with his glove. It's cool here. It's not like they're beeping at the checkout with a scanner, he said. And Hui So sheepishly agreed. The atmosphere was heavy. Get ready for the fight, the bushy-browed trainer interrupted their conversation. Okay, Doki, nodded Jung Hwan. Let's celebrate the victory, he later confidently declared to Hui So, and walked towards the cage. Even your friend is in better shape than you, the trainer encouraged the fighter. Jung Hwan turned around one last time and looked at his friend, who was staring tensely into the cage. He denied it so much, but he still can't look away, he grinned. The presenter, shouting over the lively hubbub of the basement, announced the start of the next fight. Blue corner Lee Jong-hwan. He introduced his friend. Now he looked ready to fight. Red corner, Choi Hyo-seop. A muscular fighter looked like a red-haired demon and smiled predatorily. The referee commanded them to the middle of the ring, and the fighters came together. Will he be able to cope, Hui So wondered, looking at his comrade in the cage. The referee gave the command ready, blue ready, red ready. He saw the fight. The referee gave the start, and the fighters rushed towards each other with the sound of the gong. The red-haired demon started first. He pressed with his mass. He threw heavy jabs which Jung Hwan deftly dodged. Red hit with a wide hook over the head, but Blue managed to duck. And then he received a powerful straight left, right into the block of crossed arms. It hit like a cannon, Jung Hwan felt, and became worried. He counterattacked sharply with a left straight to break his opponent's tempo. He ignored the defense and took a punch to the jaw. Jung Hwan was nervous. He stayed in the center of the cage and exchanged blows with the red one. Too tense, Hui So noticed, not at all like himself. He watched the exchange. Jung Hwan was hit hard. His opponent was stronger than him, but he did not give up. The red-headed one stupidly pushed forward, not at all afraid of the blows. Move so that you, Hui So exclaimed in his heart. His instincts were sounding the alarm. And not in vain my friend missed a clean straight left to the skull. This was bad, Hui So thought, a chill running through his body. His friend was taking too many hits. Jung Hwan's head was thrown back by the powerful blow, leaving him wide open. The guy staggered. He could no longer stand up straight. His head went blank. The red-haired demon rushed forward to finish him off at that very moment. Jung Hwan saw the blow but didn't have time to dodge it. Too bad, he managed to think. Dodge, Hui So yelled, unable to contain his emotions. A strong right straight to the jaw knocked my friend down. The referee stepped between them and gave the command to stop as soon as Jung Hwan fell to his knees. The guy went out. His head rang like a bell after a blow. He couldn't come to his senses. The referee stopped the fight by crossing his arms above himself, signaling this to the judges outside the ring. What a fool, lamented Hui So, closing his eyes from worry. What is this? He heard the host's voice from the speakers and returned to reality. While the referee was looking away, the red-headed man pounced on the defenseless Jung Hwan. He sat on top and beat him like a piece of meat, turning him into a cutlet. The referee grabbed the idiot from behind by the shoulders and pulled him away from the defeated fighter. But the stupid bull threw the judge aside and returned to the beating. Hui So watched everything as if in slow motion, the abnormal man's fist hovering over his friend's head. He weakly moved his fingers, being deeply knocked out. The coaches were confused. The big-browed one called the staff, but everyone hesitated. Hui So didn't wait or think. He acted and quickly rushed towards the cage. He didn't yet know what he would do once he was in the cage, but he threw off his jacket to make it easier to move. The presenter noticed out of the corner of his eye a black shadow that darted towards the ring. What is this lunatic doing? Stop, the presenter shouted after him. Hui So flew up the cage in one fell swoop and jumped inside like a panther. He landed deftly, distributing his weight on his arms and legs. In the far corner, his friend was being made into a cutlet with impunity. The red-haired man enjoyed the beating. Die, die, he shouted. A strong hand grabbed him by the neck so hard that it almost tore his head off. "Get lost, you idiot!" With a powerful throw, the redhead was slammed into the net. Huiso leaned over his comrade, trying to bring him back to his senses. Who dared? The crazy red-headed man got angry, getting up. Behind him, alarmed spectators shouted, "Huiso," who was not looking there. It all happened too quickly. The red-headed man appeared out of nowhere and swung to strike. Friend? Looked bad? Did not react to the movement in front of the gases. Damn, thought Huiso. His gaze remained empty. He had taken a lot of punishment during the fight, and now even more so. "Call an ambulance, Hui." So finally shouted over the noise of the crowd. He could hear faint screams from behind, through the hubbub. The red-haired man, completely out of his mind, was already heading towards him. Huiso reacted like a cat, at the last second, catching the massive blow. Reflexively, he crossed his arms in front of himself to protect himself. The shot caught him on the way out, but Huiso still received a powerful push and flew to the edge of the net. He unleashed a barrage of blows on Huiso's defense, but he stood firm in his stance. As soon as he dodged, a gloved hand pinned him down. With a bang, a knee kick broke his forearm block and even lifted him off the ground. The bushy-browed trainer began to fuss again. What was happening was going beyond the bounds of normality. The cage door finally opened and people ran inside. "Hi, Siop. Calm down," the red-headed man's stupid trainer whined. "A simple suspension won't end this time," he yelled at the athlete. Huiso saw clearly how the knee rose for the second strike. He opened his block and stepped to the left, easily dodging the blow. "Bastard," Huiso muttered through his teeth in anger and clenched his fists tighter. He extended his left hand forward and took a wide stance, his right hand dropping to his waist for a strike. Enough already, the right gun fired an uppercut into the jaw of a charging bull. A bare fist slammed a steel block into the tower and knocked out the idiot. "That's it, Hui," So shouted after the blow, the recoil rolling through his entire body. The bushy-browed coach stood up with his mouth open. You don't see that every day. This surprised not only him. The manager in the black suit also froze in surprise. Just now, a simple spectator knocked out a professional fighter with one punch. Hui Sung exhaled. Let him lie down and think about his behavior. But he didn't kill that idiot. The guy was horrified. He still hit him with his fist. At that very moment, he was knocked down by the Fight Club staff, who mistook him for an intruder. Hui So was indignant, because he was not the main troublemaker, but security was already dragging him out of the ring. A real diamond. The manager grinned, appreciating the guy's talent. Jung Hwan was recovering from the fight. The guy looked broken. They were breathing in the evening coolness. What about the results of the fight now? Asked his friend Hui So. Invalid. Hui Sub is suspended from all competitions, Jung Hwan responded. But there is nothing to be happy about. Since he lost the fight, he will not become a professional this time, his friend explained. There was something he wanted to say, said the comrade, changing the subject. Just listen, I'll tell you straight, continued Jung Hwan, and collected his thoughts. It's good that he's so cheerful after everything, thought Hui So. Do you want to try yourself in a cage? You stunned him with the question. Jung Hwan handed him a piece of cardboard, and the fight organizer, Zhang Yongwung, read it to Hui So. He was struck by the spectacular knockout that Hui So performed. This offer to make him a pro fighter, the friend explained. Such offers don't come often, the friend insisted. But will he be able to stand it, Hui So asked. And he wants it and is afraid, he thought sadly. He had played sports in the past and had a lot of problems, the guy replied. So what, he'll whine now? Chung Hwan noted with annoyance. Come on, does that oblige you to anything? He said, and nudged his friend with his elbow. There is nothing special about liking fights. I just came and watched one day. It was fun, said Jung Hwan. And now, he has almost become a professional. Although he thought he would just watch, he shrugged. So, you're not going to give up, Hui? So asked him. Of course, he might not become a champion, but the fights drag on. His friend smiled through the pain of his broken lips. Why else would you do it if not for fun? He said. You don't need a lofty dream to do what you love, he continued. And Hui So thought about it. So that's how it is, the guy replied, and stood up from the bench. I'm tired of you talking like Confucius, he said. I still have to work hard at the market early in the morning, said Hui So. Come on, work, lazy bones, Jung Hwan teased his friend. Go to the hospital and come back to the store, Hui So said goodbye. Jung Hwan watched his friend go, wondering if he understood. The broad back slowly moved away into the darkness of the night lanterns. His place is definitely in the arena, his friend smiled, imagining it. Ha, just imagining it makes me feel hot, he laughed. Okay, let's meet there, the manager was talking on the phone. Meeting with the very guy everyone is talking about now, he told his assistant. A regular guy knocked out a pro fighter. People love that, the assistant said, and the manager agreed. He decided to invite the guy to the league. Make it a pro, the assistant was surprised. Are there any doubts? The manager asked in return. He was just lucky in the ring once, an accident, the bespectacled man doubted. He's just young, is that just luck? Asked the manager. The time will come, you will learn, he answered, getting up from the table. Choi Sub is a beast, but he has good recovery abilities. Of course, he took damage after the fight, but for a healthy bull like him, it's not critical. A simple newbie would definitely not have done anything. The manager stretched his shoulders. And that's not all, he said, and looked at the time. It's time to run, the manager noted. Work without me. He waved goodbye to the bespectacled man. For a pro, it's not just cage fighting skills that are important. Other qualities are important too. No one relies only on skills. Fighters can swear and behave defiantly. Provoke your opponents, put on a real show. Quick reactions and a sense of humor allow them to control the crowd. Even if it was an offer, this guy had something to show, the manager thought. Potential to become a star of the arena, the manager smiled, recalling the last show. Hui So came to the meeting. First, it was better to find out everything, he thought. He asked the manager what was so special about it, and he offered to show it to him visually and took out a desktop. He laid it out in front of the guy and played the recording after the fight. The video clearly showed how furiously the red-headed fool attacked, and how Hui So deftly dodged and counterattacked with a powerful serve this uppercut, the manager noted. Lucky, the boy simply replied, and the manager was surprised by such modesty. He transferred his weight to his left leg, took a low stance for balance, and fixed his right hand to make it easier to turn his body, he listed. Was it just a lucky punch? The manager mimed an uppercut with his fist. It was a right uppercut from a well-trained fighter, he said. But did he hit it by accident without aiming? The manager continued. Yes and no, Hui So answered after thinking for a bit, and the manager didn't understand how that was possible. That big guy would have taken him out, so as soon as he opened up, Hui So hit him. What's going on? Thought the manager, and asked out loud if he really saw it. His instincts didn't fail him. The guy is very capable. The manager smiled at his thoughts. He asked the guy what he had done before and whether he had done anything at all. He played baseball for 3 years in elementary school, Hui So recalled. 6 years of freestyle wrestling in high school, the guy added. Now it's clear where such a good reaction comes from, the manager said. In baseball, the ball flies much faster than the strike. Let me ask you straight, he said. Why not take up mixed martial arts? Hui So thought about it. He expected such a question and prepared himself. He would like to take up MMA, he replied to the manager, who was delighted. But the financial component leaves much to be desired, concluded Hui So. Popularity is a fickle thing. If the investment does not pay off, his family will be left in debt. And he doesn't want to disturb them because of his ambitions. The manager heard and thought about it. Okay, you want $1 million for each fight, the manager replied. This can be solved, he answered the surprised guy. There is no need to worry about equipment and other things. They will provide it. Working several part-time jobs you can earn quite well, the manager figured. There's no such thing as a free lunch, right, Hui? So replied suspiciously. A small sparring test. If the director likes you, they will take you into the team. The manager made an offer. If not, everything will remain as before. No risks, he said. They want to check everything, the guy realized. The decision was his, sparring in a month. Hui So suggested after some thought whether it was possible to change the test date. A month may not be enough. Just contact me when you are ready, the manager agreed. How about today? He heard, and almost choked on his cup of hot coffee. Today, he asked again to make sure he had not misheard, and the guy nodded. Are you kidding? He asked, thinking that something was wrong with this guy. What jokes are there? Give me your fighter, said Hui So decisively. He wants to fight today. The manager didn't expect such a turn of events. There are reasons why this must be done immediately, he asked the crazy boy. Does he understand that MMA is not a sport where you can be carefree? The manager added, and the guy nodded. What to expect? If he's good, then he's good now. Talent doesn't reveal itself in 1 month, the guy threw up his hands. I hear nonsense, but it sounds so convincing, the manager thought in passing. Hold your horses. First you need to find a partner, so today definitely. No, the agency man answered decisively. Let's postpone it for a week anyway. To pass it, we need at least some basics, the manager said. We'll decide on this in a week at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he said to the guy, packing his things. It's not too late to change your mind, the agent warned sternly. No problem, the cheeky guy stood his ground. Whew, The manager noted the guy with enthusiasm. The outcome of the fight is clear anyway, he said relaxedly. Okay, Hui. So got up from his seat, it was time to leave. Prepare properly, the agent advised as he parted. Hui So smiled. It had been a long time since he felt the anticipation of a competition. So this is where the hall of Yunghwan's team is. The guy came to the fashionable building. He quickly climbed up the steps, burning with impatience, and he stood hesitantly in front of the door. In new places, he was always overcome with shyness. Plucking up his courage, Hui So opened the glass door and said hello. As he held his breath, the athletes in the hall were preparing hard. Hands closer to the body, the trainers instructed the strong fighters. The sound of gloves on paws created a tense, but at the same time pleasant atmosphere. Good sound, Hui, So thought as he watched the training. Why did he freeze like a statue, staring at the real men? His best friend came up with a thick-browed trainer. That's definitely not about him, Hui. So replied to his slacker friend. The browed one introduced himself. Park Sung-hoon is the team's coach. The guy followed his example, Li Hui. So they shook hands. Since his friend is a slob, you can address him informally, the bushy-browed trainer suggested. A week later, the test, the coach heard from Yunghwan earlier. To be honest, he thought that Hui So would refuse the fight, the coach said sternly. Get changed, he told the boys, and his friend called Hui So to follow him. The eyebrow-bearer looked doubtfully after the boy. He looked too smug. It's finally starting, Hui So thought as he returned to the coach. This whole farce is a waste of time and effort, and quickly ruined the mood of the eyebrows. Just like that, the guy thought, when he was nailed with such directness. What can be learned in a week, even if remembered, will take weeks to practice, the coach claimed. We will learn the simplest basics, he told the boy, and he nodded decisively. What is most important in a duel? Continued the thick-browed man, asking a leading question. A blow, Hui So assumed. That's right, the techniques differ, but the main thing is to inflict damage on the enemy, Park. So-hoon answered sternly. The very first of these is the jab, a simple punch to determine the distance of the enemy. Browstick delivered several quick and sharp blows to the bag. Hui So watched carefully, but he was not at all impressed by the sound. Somehow it's so simple, like stroking with your palm. The guy looked at everything skeptically. What do you say? The strict trainer asked him. It turned out well. The guy nodded uncertainly. Do you really think so? Coach Park frowned. He looks weak and clumsy, Hui So admitted honestly. Okay, how about this? The coach went to the bag again. Browstick hit the punching bag properly, and it shook with loud claps. This is much better, the cheeky boy cheered up, and the coach agreed, that's right. But they will practice the first version of the jab, said Browstick. In MMA, they use not only strikes, but also throws and pushes, grabs, in which case distance plays a big role. The second type of jab requires a clear target and is mainly used in boxing. But in MMA, the fighters stand in low stances and closer to each other, so there is less sense in such a strike, explained the eyebrowed one. After the jab, you need to be straight. This punch is similar to a boxing punch, he instructed. Alternate them together, said Pak Song, and turned back to the pair. Do a jab and put your hand back in place. He delivered several horizontal blows. Then twist your body and extend your arm to its full extent, the bag exploding with a powerful right. After the combination, return your hand to its place on the jaw and put the front one forward. The main thing is defense. That's all the basics, I see, asked the big-browed man, and waited for the cheeky boy to nod. Okay, we're done, he said, and looked condescendingly at the newcomer. True, it's so simple. Hui So was surprised. If you master these two blows, half the victory is in your pocket, the thick-browed man answered. Take care of your wrist when the bag flies back. Practice until you get tired. The trainer finished all the instructions and left the newbie. Isn't that too little? Yunghwan asked worriedly. Is that all that's needed? The thick-browed man answered sharply. Is this teaching just a theory? Insisted the worried friend. And what will change if he is taught more thoroughly? The eyebrow-shaped man answered sternly. Just a week. Even if the guy is incredibly talented, it's not enough. The coach shook his head indifferently. But he's a friend. Yunghwan was upset. If he weren't a friend, they wouldn't even talk to him. Miracles don't happen. Train and go home, he told the athlete. A rapid series of ringing blows echoed through the hall. The bag bounced on the chains like a feather when they hit it, as if from a cannon. Hui So rhythmically worked the punching bag, without pausing or slowing down. Then he started moving around with his footwork, managing to throw punches. The guy showed great form. Afterwards, he added dodging and swung like a pendulum, delivering the same straight blows from different positions. The one with the big eyebrows was very surprised when he said that he was a newbie, but Jung-hwan himself did not know about his friend's abilities. Hui-so loaded his right and hit without swinging, rotating his body. The pair was hit with the main caliber. The echo spread throughout the hall. Beads of sweat flew off the guy's face from the sharp blow. He was completely focused on the tasks. How interesting, the eyebrow sticker cheered up. You don't expect such work from a newbie. They moved on to pad training, Hui-so landing a low kick to the shin area. The blow landed well with a loud thud on the paw. What kind of ballet is this? It's like chasing flies. The bushy-browed trainer stopped his work. The blow is too sweeping. You need to choose one point and aim at it. The eyebrow stick corrected. Let's learn to kick quickly. Again, he commanded. What's that noise? They heard a low voice behind them and turned around. Work. Don't get distracted. A strong man with a beard entered the room, as if he worked on a construction site. As the seminar progressed, the bushy-browed man came closer to say hello, and the shaggy man answered him normally. He glanced at the new guy, and Park Song reminded him that this was the guy that Manager Young had his eye on. They called over the newcomer. This was the head coach, Hwang Sang-guk. The bushy-browed coach, Hui-so, introduced him and bowed. I like MMA. Sang-guk looked at him inquisitively and scratched his beard. This is a paddle? I would like to watch tournaments more often, the boy answered. They looked at him so intently that he froze to the floor. Try hard, then there will be results, the head coach answered easily. Continue sweating. He waved at them and left the room so as not to distract anyone. Let's go, the eyebrow twister. Hui-so encouraged. They didn't have much time. The guy looked after the strange man, who seemed to have returned from hard work. What a fool he is. Hui-so hugged the bag. There was only 1 day left until the exhibition match. There was only 1 day left, and he still hadn't thrown a proper kick. What a frivolous idiot, he reproached himself, hugging the bag. If he had thought about it carefully, he wouldn't have asked for just a week to prepare. I'll practice a little more, the guy decided, taking a short rest. Do you like to sit until the last minute? The head coach asked him as he left the office. How's the punch? He asked. Have you been practicing all day? And Hui-so complained that it still wasn't working. The coach struck once, scratched his beard. When he tries so hard, it would be a sin not to look, he thought. What? Hui-so was surprised. Aren't you a bit too old? The boy asked brazenly. Do as they say, Sang-guk grumbled in response. And then we'll see. Hui-so obediently assumed a comfortable stance for a back leg kick. He swung hard and punched the bag, but the sound was still muffled. Sang-guk sighed. He immediately understood what was going on when the guy turned around. Are you hitting with crutches or what? The old coach grumbled. You only use your legs. You don't use your abdominal muscles at all to turn your body. Of course the blow will be bad, he explained. Like cutting off half of yourself. The obliques work in conjunction with the hips to add to the punch. Now Grandpa will show you how it should be done, grumbled Sang-guk. Don't blink there. Tighten your abs properly, old but not useless trainer. Take a low stance. Raise your legs as soon as you start rotating your pelvis. He made a quick movement for an already middle-aged man. His foot went deep into the bag, completely finished, as if he were hitting with a heavy whip. Just as he imagined, Hui-so's eyes lit up. Not bad for an old man, he noticed. You rascal! Stop singing praises and try it yourself, Sang-guk pointed to the bag. Hui-so bounced on his toes a few times to get a feel for his body. Tighten your abs and rotate your pelvis. He mentally simulated the blow. The leg moved up easily as he began a fluid movement. The heavy whip struck the bottom of the long bag with a dry clap. Oh yes, here it is. The impudent boy felt with his whole body. That's right, the old coach praised his efforts. It's much better this way, he said. Hui. So exhaled loudly and collapsed where he stood. He was completely exhausted for today. You have a keen eye. It's clear why Manager Chan is so interested in you, the old coach grumbled contentedly. Otherwise you might think that for him this is just fun. The old man stunned with his revelation. Why, the impudent young man was very surprised. He said so himself, the coach answered him. He remembered their first conversation. Apparently he was misunderstood that time. I'm sorry, it sounded too careless, the guy apologized. Don't apologize, the old man laughed. In essence, it's all true. He also does MMA because he likes it. It's better than looking at sports as a job. You need to know how to rest too. Go home. Sang-guk grumbled contentedly. Master Sang, the impudent boy, suddenly jumped to his feet. Thank you for everything, Hui. So blurted out loudly throughout the room, echoing loudly. You weirdo. If you shout like that, they'll think he's on the team, Sang-guk smiled. Do well in tomorrow's test, the coach wished him. Fighter. Hui-so heard the unshaven master's cheerful grumble. The next day, he was ready and already dressed for the match. His opponent was also warming up on the sidelines. The shaved guy looked skilled and kept calm. Young Hwan stood next to him and supported his friend, looking warily at his opponent who looked serious. The guy looked at the newcomer appraisingly. The man in the suit, director Kim Seo-yeop, looked interested. Handsome indeed, Manager Chan noticed. He is the one who sends people flying with a punch, the director asked. Coach Pak also said that he learns quickly. The manager praised the newcomer. We'll see, the director replied, looking closely at the newcomer. Relax and do as usual, said the friend. But he himself was more worried than the fighter in the helmet. The guy just came to MMA a week ago. Don't push too hard, but don't let your guard down, the shaved guy's trainer instructed. He doesn't even need protection from a lightweight fighter, the Briton grinned. Now we'll bring the eagle down to earth. The fighters are in the middle. The referee has given the command to get ready for the fight. In fear, the Briton teased the newcomer, Hui. So stood silently, sparring for 3 rounds of 2 minutes, the referee reminded. Elbows and knees cannot be used. He listed the limitations of combat without a fight, Hui. So collected his thoughts. They touched gloves, and in the corners, the referee gave the command. The bell rang, and the shaved fighter seized the initiative with quick jabs. He combined them well with hooks. Huiso barely dodged the light blows. Shaved threw a low kick, but the newcomer managed to put up a defense by raising his shin. Good defense, director Kim Seo-yeop noted to himself. The guy really showed good footwork and moved confidently around the ring. The shaved one was chasing him. You're running away, he grinned easily. And he threw a left straight when Huiso was stepping back, blocking. He kept a tight defense and did not attack, so the shaved one moved freely. He easily closed in and landed an uppercut from below to Huiso's ribs. It hurt. The blow made him cower for a few seconds. The satisfied Briton continued to break the newcomer's block. They're hitting him too hard, the director said with disappointment. But the guy hasn't lost yet, the manager objected. We'll fight. The bald guy got cheeky and rushed forward, forgetting about defense. Huiso was used to his speed and dodged with just a flick of his helmet. In an instant, he came close to the shaved man and passed through his protection. The hand described a sharp hook, and the fist sank into the jaw with a sharp uppercut. Oh, not bad, the director noted. The manager was also jubilant. Good hit. The newbie can do something, the bald head realized. He tried to hold off Huiso with jabs from a left-handed stance, but he deftly dodged them. Seizing the moment, he hit the bald-headed man with a straight right to the jaw, and it hit him pretty hard, but not enough to knock him out, and he was able to exchange. The helmet absorbed the blow, but Huiso still felt it. Shaved also got hit in the nose. The fighters exchanged blows in the center of the ring. Huiso regularly received a retaliatory blow to the helmet from the skinhead. Master Sang-guk, look, Huiso doesn't give in even to the pros. Jung Hwan supported his friend, but the coach looked displeased. What is this weirdo doing? He asked himself, but did not interfere yet. Round. The referee sent both fighters to their corners. Huiso took a breath, pouring water on himself to cool down. It was hard, but getting hit on himself was fun, he thought. It looks like the guy knows where to hit, the director decided, and the manager agreed. Now he too was confident in the newcomer. However, the director said, the second round went like the end of the first. The guys beat each other up with quick blows, but they didn't cause much damage. Huiso was breathing heavily, his stamina leaving much to be desired. There is not enough experience and not enough strength, the club director said, disappointedly. The Briton still had strength. He pressed hard on Huiso. The opponent hit him from different angles, and the newcomer went into deep defense. And so we started off well. The bald-headed man rejoiced. Wait another minute, he asked his opponent. Huiso endured, raising his guard and holding his stance, his strength already running out. The gong saved him from defeat, and the second round went to the bald man. Just breathe. Jung Hwan was a second in this fight. The guy showed everything he could, the director said, and the manager was forced to agree. He is not in the best shape now. Train him well, said the director, and was about to leave. Li Huiso, the grumpy old man called out loudly, causing everyone to turn around. Master, Hui. So walked to the edge of the octagon to talk to him. Who fights like a woman in the ring? The old man asked menacingly. What a fool, he scolded the newcomer, giving in to his opponent. The bald-headed man glared angrily. What did indulgences mean? His victory had just been devalued. MMA is a sport for men with a strong spirit, the old man scolded. What is he doing? The manager was surprised. Enjoy yourself, but don't forget about the fight. Stop playing. The unshaven master got carried away. Fight as you wish. Without regret, the words penetrated him like a breath of wind. Just don't think about actually grabbing that thing, Hui. So smiled. The director stopped to see what kind of trick the newcomer had just pulled off. He was stern. Okay, let's throw away all the unnecessary things. Hui. So took off his helmet. This time we'll fight seriously, he smiled. He stretched his numb arms as if a heavy weight had been lifted from him. What's wrong with this weirdo? Asked the bald-headed man, and prepared for the next round. He had been beating him up all this time, and now the guy decided to put on a show. Funny, thought the bald guy. It looked so carefree, as if another person thought the bald-headed man after assessing Huiso's actions. The gong rang, and he rushed forward, not wanting to give up the initiative until the very end. The pressure continued with cat-like agility. Huiso dodged sharp blows. How hot! He jumped on the surface. From the sudden movement, his feet burned like fire. What a circus in front of the director! The manager's jaw dropped. They could have already signed a contract without any problems if the guy hadn't been struggling and trying to jump above his head. It's just a bluff. There was no need to strain yourself so much, the bald man grinned. Now he'll just take apart the self-confident newbie. It's time to sleep. Without fear, the bald-headed man put a lot of effort into the blow. And he ran into an instant counterattack. No one even noticed what happened. The bald man received a painful blow to the nose, and his head jerked back. He caught it so easily the other spectators were surprised. The manager breathed a sigh of relief. Not all was lost. The bald-headed man took revenge and threw a straight punch to regain the lost initiative. Huiso went into a low stance to bend. I'll finish him off while he's down there, thought the bald-headed man, and swung for a powerful blow. Huiso straightened up like a coiled spring, and with a flexible movement he delivered a left uppercut to the liver. Boom! The bald guy's ribs moved painfully when the fist landed. Huiso immediately jumped back to avoid a possible return strike. For the first time in the entire fight, Lisek was completely confused. He didn't understand what had happened. Come on, the arrogant newcomer, who seemed to have been replaced, teased him with a gesture. What a bastard! He gritted his teeth in anger. What this weakling would allow himself. He couldn't stand the impudence of the bald-headed man. He went forward again, his defenses raised and all tactics forgotten. But he couldn't get even. Now Huiso saw all of his opponent's blows. It was as if they were dancing in the ring. The newcomer anticipated all the movements of his opponent, and he could no longer hit. With the agility of a cat, Huiso dodged the bald-headed man's sweeping blows. It was impossible. The bald guy couldn't believe that not a single blow of his could even touch his opponent. Huiso did it easily, dodging with a smirk on his face. As soon as the opponent finished the series, he instantly closed in, swinging for a strike. The bald-headed man put up his head protection, noticing the counterattack. But instead, the middle kick ripped into his ribs. Huiso used a trick. Bluff? The bald-headed guy is completely at a loss. The tricks are not what you expect from a newbie. Huiso was on the offensive, and the enemy had completely given up the initiative. Lisek put up a defense with his forearms, covering his head. Huiso suddenly went to the left and kicked him in the stomach with his right foot. Now he's losing. The other athletes were surprised this round was so different from the previous ones. Completely defeated, the director was impressed. Huiso used unusual movements with his hands, feet, and eyes to deceive his opponent. His punches didn't look right, but they came from unpredictable angles. Careless but elastic steps. Light movements, between rigidity and agility. This was his true style, the director realized, and he was still surprised by the newcomer's determination. He still overcame it, the bald man reluctantly admitted. Huiso's blows were causing him damage, but in a real fight, he would never give in to the pace of his opponent. The bald-headed man rushed forward in one lunge, only to be met with a left uppercut to the jaw. The shaved head was thrown back by the powerful counterblow. Huiso finished him off perfectly. High kick to the head, the bald guy went flying. The predator's eyes did not let go of its victim until the very end. The shaved head rolled his eyes and simply fell, his consciousness going into reboot. He fell like a felled tree, hitting his entire body on the ring. The echo of the fall spread through the silent hall with a roar. Song Gun, the old master called him quietly. It's time to finish the fight, he said to the stunned referee. We're done. You can go. The bushy-browed coach Huiso stopped. Cool, good fight, shouts rang out. Young Huan shouted the loudest. That's better, said the unshaven old man with one glance. Huiso walked down from the arena with satisfaction, his heart still beating fast from the fight. A good fight and an unexpected outcome, his director praised him, but he has a bad habit. In the final round, he fought rather than fought, too willfully, Huiso heard. This is a sport. Athletes fight in the ring, not fighters. There are rules that must be followed, the director said. Anyone who doesn't see the difference doesn't deserve to be a fighter. Rudeness and cruelty shouldn't cross the line, he harped. Hui Seo frowned. He didn't like what he just heard. Didn't he understand? The director asked him. And Hui Seo replied that it was about sportsmanship that played the main role. But can't you do whatever it takes to win, excluding dirty tricks? Asked the cheeky guy. Do you really think so? The director answered him sternly. The boy is wayward, he thought. Of course, losing proves a fighter's uselessness, Hui Seo replied decisively. We can discuss this later. The director waved his hand condescendingly. The contract can be signed now, he suggested to the guy, but he sharply refused. The director didn't expect this. He didn't even immediately understand that he had been refused. I don't think I'm cut out for the role of an elite fighter in a fight club, he heard. And he got pretty angry. Why did they gather here then? The impudent boy bowed low and asked for forgiveness. For the old master, this answer was also quite unexpected. How is the director? Sang-guk was on the phone, he said, clearly after hearing the answer. They went for a drink when he got the call. The old master exhaled, and when he finished the conversation, Hui Seo apologized again for the inconvenience. Now you can talk. The coach sat down opposite. Why did you want to join their team? Asked Hui with the unshaven master. I wanted to. Is there any other reason needed? The guy answered frivolously. He's only good at chatting, Sang-guk grumbled. This is such a revenge for the fact that Director Kim underestimated him, the coach asked directly. But Hui Seo shook his head. He distinguished actions. He had been involved in sports all his life, and all the coaches told him the same thing. Stop kicking and do what you're told, they told him, when he was playing baseball. For their willfulness, they were all punished by being forced to stand in a plank position, Hui Seo recalled. So Director Kim reminded him of the past, Sang-guk realized. That's right. Hui Seo agreed, they are all the same. They kill the individuality of athletes. But you are a different master, Sang-guk heard, and was surprised, because he's the only one who told Hui Seo that he can move however he wants, as long as he enjoys the fight. He said it at random because he was losing, Hui Seo heard, but the coach's words were not what is usually said to athletes. Such nonsense about strength of spirit and freedom. Who else would say that Hui Seo's rudeness nailed the master? But these words greatly encouraged him, the boy said. No one had spoken to him like that before. That's why he wants to learn from the old and unshaven master, finished Hui Seo, Sang-guk. Chew before it burns. The trainer flipped the meat on the barbecue with experienced movements. The motivation is clear, but that's not all. Many people come with the same zeal. They love sports just as much, but they end their careers after a couple of years, and the master continued to say why. Because they can't afford it, and they do it until they become poor. MMA is a sport for those who have money. That's why everyone wants to join the association and earn money. Forget it, the cheeky guy interrupted him. Don't pretend you've already thought about it, Sang-guk said. But he does it out of love for MMA, the guy answered. The master did not accept this. 100 out of 100 start the same way. Then he will be one of those 199 who say so, and eventually give in. As long as there is a 1% chance, everything is fine. Hui Seo insisted on his own, but this is a damn small chance. Sang-guk put pressure on the boy. So he is this chance, the impudent youth simply replied. This is his last chance, Sang-guk heard. He would never return to sports just for the money, Hui Seo firmly decided, slamming his fist on the table. The old master froze for a few seconds. What can you do with him? He thought. Sang-guk drained his glass of rice tea in one gulp, making a strong-willed decision. Just don't complain or regret it later, the coach grumbled. This is an independent decision, Hui Seo replied, there will be no regrets. I'll work like a donkey, the guy said. And Sang-guk asked, maybe like a horse after all. What a blockhead, thought the grumpy master, and they both laughed. What else can I add since he has decided everything? The old master grumbled. It means he agrees, asked Hui Seo. Who cares about consent in such a case if everything has already been decided? The unshaven master answered the question with a question. Strike while it's hot, we'll start next week, the master replied contentedly. Hui Seo bowed. Now he can eat in peace, the boy rejoiced. The more the master looked at him, the more he was surprised at what else Hui Seo would do. Athletes need pure obsession to endure the pain in training. Money works best. But now it's different. Sang-guk recalled watching from the sidelines as the coaches apologized to the director. Nowadays, money is not as important as love for sports. It was hard to believe in such love. And who knows what will happen in the future, but he definitely didn't want to give the guy to someone else. The master promised to resolve the issues with the bushy-browed trainer who would give him the entrance papers. Hui So nodded. The cost of participation before the debut will be different, the master promised. How about a discount? The guy said in the tone of a seasoned financier. The grumpy master laughed. What's wrong? These are not the best of times. The guy was indignant. Talk to Song Hoon. He knows what to do, the master grumbled. Oh, and you can defer the payment. He wants to apply for a tax deduction from his father's card, the guy asked, and the coach nodded. What about the debts? Can they be paid in 6 months instead of 3? The impudent boy bit off his hand. There are no restrictions. You can enter fitness in the employment line and get a 5% discount, the guy chattered. And you can also take the uniform. The impudent boy did not know the word modesty. Enough! The cup of patience burst, and the grumpy master tore Hui So's t-shirt to pieces. It seems he went too far, but it was worth it, thought the impudent young man. Hello, everyone. Hui So greeted loudly the following week when he came to the gym. Lee Hui Seo arrived for training. He introduced himself again. What are you standing there for? Get moving. We have a lot of work to do, the bushy-browed trainer shouted at him. Yes, please take care of me, the boy shouted again. First, he went into the coaching room to sign some papers. What will you drink? Americano or coffee and sticks? Asked the big-browed man, and Hui So chose Americano. It's a pity that we only have coffee and sticks, said the man with the thick eyebrows. Why did you ask? Thought Hui So. While he was drinking the instant swill, Song Hoon studied his notes. What was going on, he was surprised when the big-browed man began to paw and feel him up. Could it really be the coach? Hui? So was horrified. His delirium was abruptly interrupted by his thick-browed one. This is part of the job. But he's right now, the impudent guy whispered. Hold my chest, Hui, So said in a serious voice. How long have you been out of training, fool? Asked the big-browed man. Hui. So hasn't been training for 2 years. The guy gained 7 kilograms in a year and is no longer overweight, which means he watches his diet, decided the thick-browed guy. He wants to determine what weight category to put him in, Hui So realized. This weight is stable. The ratio of muscles, fat tissue, fluid is good, concluded the thick-browed man. And what category is he in? Asked his boyfriend. It will become clear later, but most likely in the lightweight class, answered the eyebrow stick without looking up from his papers. But he weighs 80 kilograms, which means he'll have to lose 10, the guy was surprised. Isn't that a lot? He will lose a lot of strength and stamina with such a drop. Hui So was worried. This is only for the duration of the fight. The rest of the time he will be at his weight, the thick-browed man reassured. Does the weigh-in take place the day before or on the day of the fight? The guy asked. Sun Hoon nodded. In MMA the day before, he answered. The fighter didn't understand anything about having to lose 10 kilograms in one day. Just keep in mind that the coaches will tell you everything later and will monitor your condition, replied Song Hoon. Further training, he continued. The guy is special. He passed without selection and testing at the main office. He passed without knowing the basics, without training. This can't even be called simple impudence. The bushy-browed man nailed him. Study. You will be on the go, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and intensive training. A lot of work spread out the bushy-browed guy. Here is the schedule he put down on the sheet. On Monday and Thursday, general strength training. On Friday and Saturday, jiu-jitsu, Sunday rest. There will be questions. There are no questions. The big-browed one decided everything right away. You're probably shy, Sung Hoon suggested, but Hui So waved it off. He had trained for many years and was long accustomed to this. Training will begin after the test, no matter whether as a team or individually, the eyebrowist concluded. You'll cough up blood, the coach warned him sternly. But the boy wasn't discouraged. I like it when he says it harshly. Excellent. Fresh meat. The man with the thick eyebrows smiled. Now we'll squeeze it dry, he thought. You just have to do what you're told, the fighter said frivolously. Then let's start right away, said the man with the thick eyebrows. And Hui So shouted loudly, let's go. Damn, said his shadow on the floor of the hall after 1 hour, quickly. You'll lose your breath if you lie here like a dog. The thick-browed man frowned. I want to die. Hui So answered. What's with the size? Asked Song Hoon when the guy stood up. They just started. Where's the fighting spirit? You give up on the beginner's course. What will you do when the preparation for the competition begins? The thick-browed one grumbled discontentedly. Bench press 90, lifting 2 weights 28 times, 12 times, bicep curls, squats 140 kilograms. The guy is not bad. With each set, the weight only increases. The eyebrowed one assessed his abilities. Even middleweight fighters cannot withstand such strength training. Usually the weight load is determined by the decrease, but the guy withstood everything. The thick-browed man was surprised. Crazy guy. He looked at So, who was barely catching his breath but looked satisfied. What are you smiling about? Your roof is already leaking from the stress, asked the thick-browed man. I just like you, the athlete replied. I like the muscle pain, the feeling of fatigue, the ease of exhaustion, the crazy guy explained. I had to honestly admit that I didn't have enough strength. The man with the thick eyebrows smiled. But he's not just some kind of weakling. The boy tried to be brave. He heard everything, remembered. Sun Hoon. His conversation with Young Hwan, when the self-confident dandy had just come to them. Every last word. Hui So laughed. It didn't bother him one bit. Back then he was a cocky upstart, and not one of the team, Song Hoon, who apologized subtly. Back then he went too far, he said. Great. We had a rest. We continue to stretch, he said. The guy was surprised they had already stretched. This is part of the training? No joke? Who said that today we will train everything? The big-browed one shaved off the endless stream of questions from the boy. I remember someone who did not pass the test of strength, a voice called him from the grave. Hui So jumped back in surprise as another trainer approached them. Taeyong, the cheeky guy, recognized the strength training trainer. But what is he doing here? Hui So asked. Wasn't he told? Taeyong showed off his muscles. Who is doing the second half of the training? They drove. Steel Hands took him in pincers and dragged him along. It's not good to change the coach like that in the middle of training. First, you need to work everything out with Song Hoon. The guy expressed hope. What should we do? Taeyeon asked the bushy-browed master. He looked at Hui So, who was clamped in a vice, he thought. He will help me. It will definitely help. There is still hope to escape from this hell. We're done. He's yours. Do whatever you want. The bushy-browed trader waved goodbye. It was time to stop taking athletes at their word, thought Song Hoon. It is rare that an athlete combines passion, resilience, and tenacity. It is already obvious that the guy will become the face of the future for MMA, Sun Hoon decided for himself. Just one set and that's it, Taeyeon yelled. Just finish me off, the impudent guy puffed. Although it is worth taking into account his sporting past, the eyebrowed man realized. They practiced in the ring, worked on the paws, dodged, forced Hui So to bend over, the long-haired trainer. And once more, he barely managed to dive under the red paw. 2-1-2, the trainer commanded, and Hui So hit the paws with a loud slap. Hit without pauses. In a fight, no one will wait for a blow, the coach instructed. Jiu-Jitsu coach Lee Soo and Jung Hwan watched the pad work. The strikes looked good. Good job, the long-haired man praised and announced a break. Bro, Jung Hwan called him. He also came to practice. Since we arrived at the same time, why not chat? He suggested. Decided to join us. It's amazing, said Jung Hwan. How to live without a best friend, Hui So answered him. You'll understand when you get older, the guy joked. Jung Hwan was indignant. Did he really come on purpose to make fun of him? They were fooling around as cheers went up through the room. An old and, as usual, unshaven master arrived. Everyone in the hall deeply respected him. Everyone gather, there is an announcement. The trainer raised his hand to attract attention. He waited until everyone was seated and silent to listen to him. Who knows what this is? He held out several sheets of documents in his hand. The invitations were fired out from the hall. The master confirmed correctly. He snatched them thanks to his speed and gathered the team. Our master is the best gangster in the Wild West, the athletes shouted joyfully, and the old man grumbled. The invitation to the championship was explained to a friend by Chung Hwan. They are given to the team. Does that mean that anyone can participate? Asked the cheeky guy. The friend shook his head. Was he joking or something? It all depends on the strength of the team. The organizers look at what kind of show the team can put on. Other halls don't get such invitations. It all depends on the effort. Calm down, the unshaven coach grumbled. Now he will announce the participants. Kang Young-kun, the one who answered right away, a big guy with brown hair. He was a wrestling coach. Tai Chun, the second name on the team, is a striking coach. Both were Golden Glove winners in the past. An admiring Hui So learned. The third, Yujin, the trainer called the name of the fit beauty. Hui So looked at the sports girl. He was told that they were the same age. She earned 5 wins in X1, in the lightweight division up to 52 kilograms. And for her attractiveness, fans dubbed her the goddess of MMA. It was as far away as the moon. The boy looked dreamily at those whom the coach had named. It was too early to think about a place in the league, so the boy began to study his toenails. Li Hui. So the last word was heard by them. Yes, it was him. The guy was stunned. Being invited like this, Hui So received many envious and displeased glances. The beauty looked with disdain at the impudent upstart. These are the terms of the organization, so no offense. The unshaven trainer quickly reassured the indignant ones. Or are there objections? He looked sternly at the fighters and they fell silent. That's all for everyone who received an invitation to gather at Song Hoon's. A heavy hand squeezed the back of his neck as the boy continued to stand rooted to the spot. Let's go and talk face to face, the old master called him. Everyone was so unhappy. Hui. So was worried. So what? It was the organization's decision. He shouldn't worry about it, Sanggun said. They all understand this. Stop thinking about others, the master reassured the guy. He asked who the invitation came from, and the master read the name of the fighting organization, X1. But how did Korea's best association find out about him? The boy was surprised. The video became popular, the coach explained. The monster that destroyed the professional fighter, that's what they call the impudent guy. So this is his debut. How soon? The guy was very surprised, but there was also a problem, the coach said. Jong Soo Cho, height 183, weight 87 kilograms, read Hui So. Welterweight? But that's not all. The match schedule, the coach said. September 9th, the boy read on the back, it's not a mistake. Today is the 18th of August, he asked. Right. The match with the substitution, the coach explained. The fighter dropped out due to injury. In 3 weeks, he will need to get his weight back to normal, analyze his opponent, and prepare. The enemy is larger, better trained, and has more experience, the unshaven master reassured. How are you going to get out of this? The trainer asked the impudent boy. Preparation usually requires at least 3 months. Without good balance against an experienced opponent, it is suicide. Let's try, the guy decided. You won't regret it, the old grumbler asked him. Let's do it, Hui. So answered decisively, without a shadow of doubt in his voice. Tomorrow you'll sign the contract. Today you can rest, Dandy, the old coach told him. And that's it. The master was not against it. Huiso was surprised, but he waved it off. If he was against it, he wouldn't have even suggested it. Did it mean that the match would be easy? The boy wondered. He was about to leave, but the coach called him back. Do his parents know that he is going to participate in a professional match? He asked him. No, not yet, the green goldfinch answered the master tensely. It was none of his business, the master grumbled, but it was better not to participate without his parents' consent. I'll tell you soon, the guy sighed heavily. The conversation will not be easy. Talk to your parents today, and we'll decide everything tomorrow, suggested the unshaven master. We need to respond tomorrow so that the organization can change the schedule if the coach explains anything. Don't be stubborn. Tell your parents the truth. If they refuse, you'll participate another time, the coach insisted. Hui So was delayed. The decision was not easy for him. Will there be another time? He answered in a resigned voice. He just asked. Tomorrow, so tomorrow. The boy quickly put on a smile. Well, that's all. He said goodbye to the unshaven coach. He looked at the guy. What a troublesome dandy. It will be hard with him, the unshaven coach sighed tiredly. From Jung Hwan, he knew that the boy had a strained relationship with his parents. It's so hard, it's infuriating, the unshaven coach got angry. Late in the evening, Hui So returned home to his parents. Today, he was earlier than usual, his mother noticed. His father was watching football. After training, first go to the shower. Hui So said that he washed himself in the gym, but his mother insisted that he could sweat on the way. While she was grumbling, her father almost hit her with a screaming blow. The team scored a goal. The tired woman dropped all the linen she was holding in her hands. We need to talk to them before Mom strangles Dad, the boy said. First a shower, the mother answered murderously, in a tone that brooked no objections. Then he was able to sit them down and tell them everything, as the coach demanded. What do you think, dear? Asked the father. But the woman pressed her lips together. He always does what he wants. But then he suddenly decided to ask. His mother was clearly unhappy with everything that was happening. Now he confronts us with the fact that he has decided to do MMA, the mother responded sharply. It doesn't matter, she's definitely against whatever he says, the woman cried out in annoyance. But Mom, the boy tried to get through to her, but his mother quickly shut him up. 10 years without sleep or food so he could exercise, she said with pain. She stopped seeing her friends and worked herself to the point of exhaustion for him. And now he's saying again that he wants to do MMA, he clasped his hands. How much more should she compromise? She always gives in, she almost cried. Think about your mother for once, she cried out, breathing heavily. Forget it, do whatever you want. All she does is clean up anyway, she said angrily and stood up abruptly. Wait, Mom. The boy gently took her hand, but she didn't stop. She sacrificed a lot for him, and he always felt ashamed of it, Hui So said. That's why he wants to get their permission one last time. She looked at him with pain, as only loving mothers can. Do what you want. The tired housewife went to her room. The boy could only watch his angry mother leave. She's just really worried about him, the father reassured. I know, the son replied. She only gets angry when she's really worried about him, the guy said. How you've grown, just look at him. His father patted him on the shoulder. But the son was wrong about something, said the father, moving closer. This woman is always angry, just look at her neck, complained the father. And Hui so understood why the mother was angry all the time. Oh, you rascal, you're making fun of your father, they laughed. So he agrees, Hui so asked, and his father nodded. If he refuses, won't he be the one to blame later? But he won't, the now grown-up son said confidently. Take care of your mother, said father. You know how much effort he put into this? Hui so nodded. There was something else he wanted to say, Hui so remembered. He needed money for the participation fee, but he would return it, the father asked in the tone of an experienced financier. He gave the money to his son, Hui so replied in the same tone. This is an investment, who knows, maybe he will earn 2 or 3 times more, the father heard but doubted. The bluff is obvious. If it were possible, it would have happened already, said the parent. You won't regret it, the son asked later. And if I make friends with women's groups, the smart guy suggested, and the old man pricked up his ears. They shook hands to show that they had just come to a mutual agreement. How much money does the future champion need? Asked the father, who suddenly changed his mind. It's a safe investment, the son replied. He won't regret it. The bedroom door opened quietly as the men were fooling around in the living room. Mom looked at them anxiously and closed the doors again. The heavy hammer hit the tire with force, as if it were being used to hammer in rails. Take a break, the coach told the strong athlete, and he threw down the sledgehammer. They haven't called yet, the fighter asked. He had been sweating since morning training and was still waiting for an answer. There were only 3 weeks left until the fight. He was worried they would contact him soon, the coach confidently stated. They rejected 60 people from his way station, and for 2 weeks they could not find anyone to replace him. The association was worried. Don't push yourself so hard, the trainer told him. You'll still wear out your muscles. You just started training, fool, but all your efforts will go to waste if there's no fight, grumbled the hairy man. Just train, the coach insisted. If they don't get in touch, he'll call them himself. What a stubborn character, like all fighters, thought the mustachioed trainer. A little later, he finally received a call from the association. The shaggy-haired Chan's son listened to who the coach was talking to. Director Song Do-shik, the bangs-headed athlete asked. They found a replacement, and the long-haired athlete was immediately delighted. But who is this guy? Never heard of him. Li Hui. So the coach read the name. It looks like a newbie who just got through the league, the Patlock assumed. It doesn't matter, he said, and went to train. Now the real spirit of training has appeared, he said. Somewhere in another hall, another athlete thought the same thing. They met with the bushy-browed coach before signing the contract. Once you join their club, the gym takes 10% for itself, Song Hoon said. Not bad. Hui? So noted, usually the audience takes 3/10 for themselves. Our master believes in this, athletes are a priority for him. Maybe I can make an exception and charge him more if he's not happy, the big-browed man asked. And the boy quickly changed the subject. It's a one-time contract, explained the eyebrow. The fund is 2 million, $1 million for the win. Watch your weight. If you weigh more, you will have to pay a stiff penalty, warned Song Hoon. You'll give me all the winnings, the cheeky young man agreed quite honestly. It's the athlete's responsibility to keep an eye on his weight. As for other details, you'll find out for yourself. More questions, finished the eyebrowed man. How much will they give for the victory? The big-browed man chuckled. This was the question he was waiting for. After all the deductions, taxes, fees, there will be 3 3/10 million left. The impudent boy started drooling at such a sweet sum. Are you going to retire after this fight? Asked the big-browed man, and the guy flatly refused. He would cling to every opportunity. Such opportunities are rare and take a long time to come. So try hard, the bushy-browed trainer warned. Hui So tensed up and listened carefully. He was really involved in a serious matter. It's not enough to just win, you need to put on a show. Organizations don't do charity work, the big-browed man explained. If you don't have enough skills, show some fighting spirit. If that's not enough, at least don't shit your pants, the coach frowned. If you don't prepare properly, your fans will quickly forget about you, warned Brostick. You need to invest more than your full potential. Put a cross on the contract and return to training, said Sung Hoon. We need to learn all the strategies and tactics against Cho's son. The guy said it well. In what direction? He will learn wrestling, the bushy-browed trainer smiled. He stood in front of the massive Yong Kun, who outweighed him by several weights. The fighter made a sharp movement with his whole body. They were practicing wrestling. There was no need to fear blows. Under such pressure, Hui So instinctively retreated towards the net. Young Kun easily passed the defense and held the boy by grabbing him and taking him in a hold with his other hand. His head was propped up by Huiso's chin. He couldn't move. He was pressed down tightly. Did he grease his legs with Vaseline or something? The big-browed man was indignant. Why did the enemy make such an easy pass? He yelled at Huiso. Wrestling is great for finishing blows, so they'll start with that, the big-browed one in the office said. Chung Su's style is simple. He avoids grabs well. Even though he has nothing special, he knows his opponents well and is trained. He's bigger, so he's guaranteed to use grabs. If he can't handle them, it'll be hard. He'll drag you to the bottom of your stamina. Therefore, wrestling skills are a must. But will he be able to learn them in such a short time? He hasn't done wrestling before, the guy asked. What about Korean wrestling? He used to do it, the thick-browed man clarified. Ah, we're talking about Raw, Hui. So understood what he was talking about and exclaimed, if it's Raw, he'll beat anyone, the impudent guy boastfully poked himself in the chest. He was confident in his skills, but he was fighting with young Kun now. His strength was leaking out like air from a balloon, as if he were fighting a gorilla and not a man. He stepped inside Yong Kun's stance with his right foot. It was time to get out or the big guy would just crush him and cut off his supporting leg. Young Kun felt his strong body collapse. Now that he had lost his balance, Huiso grabbed his opponent's shoulder with his right hand. In one move, he turned and threw away Yong Kun, who was standing on one leg, as if he had turned a wardrobe, the impudent guy thought. Huiso didn't let go and completed the rotation. Now he pressed Yong Kun to the net. Damn, he's good. Even the big guy had trouble with the nimble kid. As soon as he regained his balance, Huiso had already made a pass to the legs and grabbed the opponent under the knees. He wants to knock him down. Yong Kun got angry at such insolence. He spread his legs wider and leaned his body to prevent himself from folding. And this is not a joke. The blonde trainer also watched their fight. He kept his balance well and used holds, he noticed. Who would have thought? It seemed like Young Kun could easily deal with the newbie. And now he was puffing with all his might, holding back the impudent athlete. Young Kun is a veteran wrestler and he easily spun Huiso around and they switched positions again. The wrestler's big hands passed the brash guy's defense, and they locked in a grip behind his back, as if Huiso was being grabbed by steel pincers. The big guy lifted the light guy off the ground and deprived him of his support. Huiso didn't wait to be thrown into the ring, his right leg hooked under the opponent's knee. He stood on his left knee, gaining a point of support. He made an incredible move. Turning his body, he broke the grip of Yong Kun, who lost his balance due to the sweep. Even if he was caught in a hold, he would break free every time with an incredible movement. The experienced Yong Kun was surprised. You know a thing or two, Li Hui. So, I'll have to teach you, said the big guy. It's too early to be surprised, senior. The impudent guy took a breath. They met again in the center of the ring, taking each other into a clinch. The guy quickly got used to MMA. After Korean wrestling, he noticed the eyebrows. In MMA, everything is not as simple as in regular wrestling, as the daring young man realized. What was his weight before they left the hall? Asked the bushy-browed Sun Hoon. They were on their way to the weigh-in. X1 allows for an overweight of half a kilo. So we'll pass, the trainer replied after hearing the result. But he didn't eat anything, he clarified. No, the guy sighed. He didn't drink water either. He weighed himself a lot when he was wrestling. He knows all about it. You only talk about wrestling, no matter what you ask, the bushy-browed trainer grumbled. Why alone? What about friends? The cheeky guy looked at the girl next to him. She waved it off. She's just free today. Maybe you'll just get lost. Why do we need a girl? The boy was cheeky, but who will look after his things, the girl asked. Then sit quietly like a doorman, Huiso grimaced. Can I beat him up? She asked the eyebrow sticker. How friendly you are, Song-hoon noted. And what about his other friends? He asked the guy. And he replied that he hadn't told them yet. He's just afraid of losing. That's why he didn't say anything, the cheeky girl sneered. Some people are walking on very thin ice. Huiso smiled. The ice has cracked, said the cheeky guy, and gave the cutie a slap. Lovers quarrel only to make up, sighed Song-hoon as the couple began to clash. Huiso couldn't help but let out a gasp of surprise as they entered. Inside the large room, there were quite a lot of people. The atmosphere was different from what he felt in the basement when he watched Jung Hwan's fight. Stop staring and follow me, the bushy-browed man told him. The cheeky girl hissed. Our seats? Song-hoon told him to take them and wait. The guy nodded. Huiso obediently took his seat and looked around. He immediately noticed him. His future rival stood out sharply from the rest of the people. Cho-sun Cho, he asked the bushy-browed trainer, who confirmed and told him not to stare so hard. Don't look. Don't say hello until you reach the star down. The battle of glances explained the eyebrowed one. Why greet them? They're going to fight later. He decided to play at being polite, grumbled the big-browed man. Simplicity itself, he is still doing it, said Song-hoon. Now he understood when the bushy-browed coach told him about it. Bangs deliberately doesn't look at him, even knowing that Hui-so might be looking. They were separated by several meters, but both pretended that the opponent did not exist. The weigh-in ceremony began, and the fighters climbed onto the platform one by one. Their weigh-in was announced, and the browstick man stood up to call Hui-so, but stopped short. Let's go. The reckless guy had already undressed and was standing in just his sweatpants. What a fool. What a cheeky girl who hit him on the seat with her trained leg. Why did he undress before the announcement? She asked embarrassedly, but didn't show it. But he still had to undress, the carefree guy answered. And what kind of ridiculous family shorts are you wearing? The girl blushed. These are her father's. Women don't understand how important they are, the cheeky guy answered. Finally, he was called and the team trudged up to the podium with the scales. It's all officially counted. Li Hui. So 77.2. Excellent. Sun Hoon met him. You can't be called a pro if you can't even do that. The impudent girl grumbled. I don't care, she said. Put your pants on already. She shoved the pants at the guy, but he refused. It's hot after all. What kind of animal is this? He got dressed quickly, but the guy dug his heels in. Strange laughter came from the audience and the couple froze. Who will marry me now? The beauty blushed. I won't forgive you. She threw his pants and ran away. What kind of ridiculous embarrassment was this Hui so childishly didn't understand? Watching her go. The star down begins. Hui so heard his name on the speakers. They stood in a stance opposite each other. Cho Woo-jong was indeed taller and more massive. But he looked exhausted. His skin was dry and taut. Apparently, he had undergone intensive drying. Tomorrow there would be another person in front of him, noted Hui So. Will he be able to win, Hui? So wondered when he heard his opponent's voice. How annoying he said it. Not even in the amateur league. What a loser. Cho Woo-chong made a face. What were you thinking when you agreed to fight? It was a disgrace in sparring. Your hair was spread out. Who is he holding on to? The league director helped him get through. The opponent was grimacing. What did Hui So think was wrong with him? It's clear that he's being provoked, but it's so annoying. Don't provoke your opponent, warned the man from the association. Let's give it our all and not let each other down, the fighter with the bangs quipped. Are you deaf or something? You need to answer when you're addressed. The enemy was clinging to you, but Hui So shaved him off. Shut the fan, it's blowing. He asked for a replacement himself, and now he whines when they clean up after him. Hui So straightened up and scratched the back of his head. He should have said thank you since he saved this match, and not whined like a woman, dissatisfied. Refuse, the impudent guy declared. You've completely lost your mind, Cho Woo-chung got angry. They knocked on your door earlier, Hui So said sarcastically. What should I write on your grave? The bangs-headed man leaned his forehead and bared his teeth. I'll smear it like a sniffle. But he didn't finish. He was roughly pushed away, pressing on his throat. The shaggy fighter was completely enraged. Dehydration was taking its toll. The coach and organizers barely managed to stop the big guy when he rushed at the impudent guy. If you're unhappy with something, show it in battle, not with your tongue, said the cheeky guy at last and bent down to pick up his pants. Oh, I almost forgot. The guy definitely caught the wave of his bravado. They are only a year apart, no need to put on airs, he said. When he returned home, he found his mother alone. His father had been taken fishing by his boss, just like in the old days. Mother washed the dishes. They never spoke properly since then. The tired woman was very worried, but remained silent. Hui So walked up to his mother and hugged the little woman tightly. Let her go, she told him. I think I'll fight better if I know I have support, he told his mother. He had a fight tomorrow. He held her in a gentle embrace while she did the dishes. Hui So bit his lips. His mother was still angry at him, but there was nothing he could do about it. I'll go to my place, he said, not wanting to put any more pressure on her. Tomorrow they'll show him on TV, the guy bragged. With heavy thoughts, he turned to leave for the room. If you want to eat, he heard from his mother, when it is necessary to make peace, his mother will always feed him. You need to eat before the fight. Otherwise you won't have enough strength, she told him. Mom, Hui So pulled, and suddenly a weight fell from his soul. Make no mistake, if you lose, I don't want it to be because of me, the loving mother grumbled. What will you eat? She asked a little more softly, concern taking over. Spaghetti, less pasta, more meat. The son was delighted, and she told him to take a shower and wait. So light, like a feather, He hadn't lifted her for a long time, the boy said, cheerfully as he picked up his mother in his arms. The arena is flooded with light. The octagon is surrounded by a net. The fight is about to begin. Hui So was warming up on his paws with the eyebrowed one. Don't forget about protection, he instructed. Great. That's enough. You can rest, he told him after the warm-up. He said the blonde guy in good shape, and that made him feel uneasy, Song-hoon noted. Look how relaxed he is, the old coach asked the guy so easily, and he joked that he relaxed in advance because he was waiting for him. 2 pieces of advice for this fight, said the unshaven trainer. First, hit Cho Woo-jong in the face 10 times. As if it was easy, the guy mumbled, Don't rush. Hit according to tactics, provoke him to strike. He's a master at this, the trainer continued, massaging the athlete. What about the second piece of advice? Asked the cheeky boy. Listen, don't panic. If everything gets out of control, Song-hoon will tell you what to do, the boy thought. Why are you silent? His coach asked him. What should he do if his intuition tells him to do the opposite of what Sung-hoon said? Hui So answered. Usually it's clear what to do, but Song-hoon doesn't let you do it. The thick-browed one frowned upon hearing his name. Do as you see fit, his old trainer reassured him, much to the indignation of the big-browed man. What is this? Sung-hoon asked himself. The coach told the boy to do what he wants, but not to lose his temper. Master Sang wanted to challenge such a statement by the eyebrowed man. But the command to start was given in the locker room. Let's go! The unshaven coach pushed the impudent boy towards the exit. They walked down a dark corridor, the blinding light of the arena shining through the passage. There it was, the same exciting feeling that had gripped Hwai. So the first time he heard the noise of the crowd. The unshaven trainer watched the guy's reaction carefully. Many fighters were embarrassed by the large number of spectators. Just the thing to get in the mood for the fight, said the guy. Great, replied the unshaven master. Let's warm up. While Hui Seo was shadowboxing, Sung-hoon quietly approached Sang-guk. He is responsible for this fight. Why did he tell the guy to stop listening to him? The bushy-browed master asked. Leave him alone. Let him be willful, said the unshaven coach. But he is making his debut. How can you allow him to do whatever he wants? The thick-browed one grumbled discontentedly. He's not like the master. If he listens to advice and loses, he won't return to the ring. But Sang-guk stood his ground. In other halls, Hui So was told what to do, and only because of this he refused the elite club. The master replied, let him do what he wants. The match was commented on by the hosts. Lee Hui So came out in the blue corner. They announced the start of the main fight. Debut match. He had been practicing MMA for only a month, defeated with 1 punch and succeeded in sparring. The commentators accompanied Hui So's exit. Newcomers rarely appear in such an arena, and he will really have a hard time coping, they continued. In the red corner is the rising star of the arena with 3 wins under his belt, Cho Woo-jong. The spectators are actively supporting him, but will he justify the trust? Don't worry, move quickly but stay calm, the unshaven trainer instructed. Blue corner, star rookie, height 1.78 m, weight 77 kilograms, Li Hui. So, the guy confidently entered the cage. Red corner, a fighter 183 meters tall, weighing 77 kilograms, the future of Korea's welterweight, the wild stallion Cho Woo-chung. The participants went to the center. The referee gave the command, and they almost collided heads. Cho Woo-jong was noticeably taller. Elastic muscles, not at all like the one at the weigh-in, Hui So noticed. You have to be careful of his grabs. He was preparing for the fight when his opponent spoke to him. Make sure you learn everything well, he muttered through his mouthguard. This is his last pro fight, the opponent promised menacingly, but Hui So did not care. Loser, are you still angry or something? The cheeky boy with the bangs egged him on. He's not just rude, he's also stupid. Focus on the match. Cho Woo's face twisted in anger. Blue is ready, red is ready, fight. The referee gave them the command, the gong sounded. His gait is light, which means he is calm. The thick-browed trainer watched Hui So. Prepare a bucket of ice and Vaseline, asked the bushy-browed man, anticipating many heavy blows and cuts. The crowd cheered, and Sun Hoon felt a chill. What happened? He asked and turned sharply and looked into the cage. What happened? Cho Woo-jong was lying with a broken nose. Hui So was standing over him. As soon as the fight began, Cho Woo-jong attacked first in order to quickly deal with the impudent newcomer. He moved confidently, not expecting any surprises at all. A short left jab shot into the face like a magnum. The right straight flew straight into the bangsman's jaw without delay. A clear 2. Li Hui So knocked out his opponent within 10 seconds of the fight and towered over him. The shaggy one sat down on the ring as if all the arrogance had been knocked out of him at once. Pull yourself together, Cho Woo-jong, his mustachioed trainer yelled at the banged man. The fight wasn't over yet. He barely dodged Huiso's finishing blow from above. The fighter rose sharply. The attack had thrown him off balance, but he quickly recovered. He raised his hands and took a stance. The commentators went crazy from such a start. Cho Yu thought nothing. Now he will get his rhythm back. But Huiso didn't wait for his opponent to rest. He gathered himself and lowered his body forward a little. With one jerk, the daring guy closed the distance. Cho Yu didn't have time to react. He received a right on the way out, again on his broken nose. The fighter lost his balance and fell back. The fast Huiso crushed the massive opponent. The blow shook and stunned the man with the bangs, and the situation suddenly became catastrophic. And yet he stayed on his feet. Huiso was approaching but not looking for trouble. The shaggy one gathered himself into a box, pressed his forearms to his body, and covered his face with his hands. He stopped, which means he wants to be hit harder. So put more force into the blow. He showered his opponent with powerful combinations in order to break through his defense. Focusing his attacks from above, he ducked and hooked the ribs, hitting behind the elbow. Cho Yu gritted his teeth from the pain in his spleen and felt sick. The proud fighter could not stand such a one-sided exchange, opened up, and went for a breakthrough. He fired a powerful punch to throw his opponent back, but Huiso easily ducked under the drawn-out strike. Cho Yu's right hand hit him so hard that his head turned in the opposite direction. His strong build, flexible and strong muscles, absorbed some of the energy from the blow, and that was the only reason he hadn't fallen yet. He took a wide step forward and attacked over the top, still hoping to win the exchange. Huiso watched the strike as if in slow motion. He clearly read every move of his opponent. The left counter cross landed cleanly, doubling the damage to the chelcastum. It's impossible. When did he manage to make a counterattack? Such a technique is not what you expect from a beginner. Both fighters lost their balance, but Cho Woo staggered more. Huiso regained his balance early and closed in on his opponent again. In a desperate attempt to save himself, the bangs-faced one made a pass at the legs to knock down the fast guy. The cheeky boy stepped back and lowered his body into a low stance, not allowing himself to be knocked over. "Let's puff," he smiled. The enemy was wasting his last strength on futile attempts. Huiso stood up and pushed the beaten-up chelcast away from him. They returned to the counter again. The spectators were going crazy. The experienced fighter couldn't do anything to the newcomer. Cho Yu was pressed against the net. He was breathing heavily. Huiso raised his hands. He showed no signs of fatigue and waited. The bushy-browed coach couldn't look away. He thought that Huiso would be at a disadvantage. The opponent was superior to him in skills and experience. The daring guy opening his defense rushed forward, closing the distance. He wants to fight, thought the bangs-headed man, and prepared to block Huiso. But instead of fighting, the daring guy froze at the last second, and he delivered a straight left punch to Cho Yu's open forelock. Unconventional strikes, feints, broken rhythm. This is his true style that Sun Hoon understood. The same thing happened with the bald-headed guy. He destroyed his opponent's rhythm and his sense of distance. You can't use that without preparation. Huiso's hands clasped behind Cho Woo's head, and he grabbed him tightly. Like a panther, the flexible guy jumped up, raising his knee to strike. His entire body mass concentrated in one point and broke through Cho Woo's defense. Everything in his eyes started shaking and swimming. How could Cho Yu stop hearing everything that was happening around him? He tried to make another pass to the legs and take the fight to the ground, but Huiso's legs were too wide apart. "I told him so, So thought, easily controlling his opponent with his hand from above. "Don't talk nonsense. Show me." He loaded his magnum. The explosive uppercut blew Cho Woo's jaw off so hard that he lost his mouthguard. The back of his head fell onto his back from Huiso's monstrous blow. Browstick couldn't believe his eyes, and the unshaven old man enjoyed the fight. Huiso was already flying towards his downed opponent to finish him off on the ground, but the referee jumped on top and stopped the match. Huiso stood over his fallen opponent and caught his breath. 1 minute and 49 seconds, the commentators were shouting at the same time whether there had been such an explosive debut before. Everyone who followed So will never forget this fight. The guy clenched his fists. Adrenaline went through his body in waves. He did not immediately understand that the fight was over. A flawless victory, the whole hall rejoiced. The triumphant raised his fists in a victory pose. He passed out instantly as soon as he sat down in the comfortable chair in the back seat. The old master snored like a pig. "Leave him alone, he did a good job," objected the eyebrow. "Yes, it's not about but about this one." The grumpy old man pointed his finger back. "What a pig." They slapped the coach on the forehead. He probably worked harder than everyone else. Wasn't that a great fight? Who would have thought that he would avoid all the punches and finish in the first round, said the brow wrestler. True, the old man agreed. He knew the guy was good, but he didn't think he was that good. Today, his heart was beating fast. Then, the eyebrow-shaped man remembered the last minutes after the fight. Huiso lifted the blonde Tae-Soo onto his shoulders, and they entered the arena to see the winner. The guy was sincerely jubilant, rejoicing in his victory, and they all rejoiced with him. Song-hoon felt confused and didn't know how to react to the results of the fight. Song-hoon, a cheerful guy, tore him away from his thoughts. He won, I saw. His laughter and joy were infectious. Good job, smiled the thick-browed man. I didn't hear his recommendations at all, the guy asked. It's all because he did well, Song-hoon answered. It was cool, the coach told him. 1,000 points, and the pleased, cheeky newcomer broke into a smile. He said that he would help, but he himself was silent as if he had abandoned the fighter. His eyebrows were turning over heavy thoughts. Master Sang-gook, on the other hand, knew what the guy needed and gave him confidence, which turned the fight in the right direction. Amazing, Sung-hoon thought. The boss knows how much he is respected, he asked. What is needed now? The unshaven master grumbled. Why do they suspect him of self-interest? The man with the thick eyebrows was surprised. Stop trying to build a saint who is always picky about little things, grumbled the old man. You whine about your stubble. You're even embarrassed to come to the gym, the old trainer grumbled. Yes, it's just an excuse. He's lazy, that's why he doesn't go. The big-browed man was indignant. And he even argues with me all the time, Sang-gook grumbled. And why does he always drive them? Now let him drive everyone himself, grumbled the unshaven master. As soon as they came to this, the eyebrowed one was surprised. And what about a dinner at the company's expense for 600,000? Here you eat the last ramen without salt. And here, it's like this. You can't shut up the grumbling. All this respect is just chatter, at least once said when you take energy drinks. Song-hoon stuck the earphone in his ear to save himself. The world suddenly became a pleasant, comfortable place, without stress. No one is without vice, Song-hoon thought. The cheeky young man dressed up and showed up at the cafe the next day. Hey Goldfinch, come here, his friends at the table called him. This is where those blockheads are, thought the cheeky young man. The star has come. Fall down on your faces, greeted Hui. So, it seems he caught the crown, declared his friend, only now did the other object. What's more important is why our friend was running around naked in his underwear in the arena, his bespectacled comrade asked. Why didn't he say anything? They had to find out everything online. His comrades were indignant. There was no time. The impudent guy justified himself. 3 weeks to prepare everything, said Hui. So, pathetic excuses. He is no longer friends with us, just teasing friends. It was impossible not to notice that Huiso was now really getting attention from young people watching MMA. They stared and whispered behind their friends' backs without any embarrassment. Oh, now you hide your face under a cap like a star, they asked him. Just got caught in the arm, Hui. So became embarrassed. On the way here, he had already caught a couple of inquisitive glances. Popularity had fallen like a sudden avalanche. For 10 years, he had been involved in sports, and no one cared. And now, in just 2 minutes of fighting, he had received so much attention. Enough about him. How are they doing? Asked Hui. So, the bespectacled man was working part-time to get back to preparatory school. You need to find a permanent job. Won't part-time jobs affect your studies? Asked the cheeky guy. You need to graduate from college, answered He-Bomb. I will be a civil servant, said the second comrade, with a serious look. Both friends stared at him as if he had said something unimaginable. A poor student wants to become a civil servant. What a pattern, his friends laughed. But they were right after him on the academic list. What kind of fools are they? Pakmin frowned. They were chatting happily about the good old days when Huiso felt a vibration in his pocket. He took out his phone. The guy was surprised why his father suddenly decided to call. Busy, he heard his father's worried voice on the phone. No, what happened? Asked the responsible son. At the corporate party, I'll be late. If with friends, then you'll drink too, asked the father. Mother is left alone at home if you can. Come home early to have lunch with her, said father. That's right. She waited for him all night, thought Hui. So, and understood why her father called. No matter how excited he was, he should have stayed with her. It's okay, he told his father. He was planning to come back early anyway. Yesterday I didn't say this, the fight was great. I'm proud of you, son. I heard Huiso, the most important words in life. Yes, nonsense, he smiled. Happy as an elephant. Thanks, Dad. I think I'll be back early today, he told his friends when he hung up. He said you would hang out with us all night. His friends were surprised. It's just that next time he'll treat you, Hui. So promised his comrades. He waved goodbye to them and hurried home because his mother was waiting. He should have said it right away. We all know it anyway, Chaebum noted, and Park Min, his mother's boy, correctly agreed with him. Hui So walked, jumping quickly, his soul unusually light. He took out his phone while walking home. The thick-browed trainer was calling. The prize money has arrived. Check it, Sun Hoon asked him, and the guy went into the account. 1,165,000 for the match. He received a tidy sum. He got the main event bonus, and they transferred another 10 million for that. He had been poor for so many years while he was involved in sports, but one fight changed everything, the cheeky guy thought with regret. He met her on the way home. She was standing with her back to him behind the counter. A short, sweet woman was trying to get a discount on vegetables. Even from afar, she was so beautiful, Hui So thought as he looked at his mother. He had been told that his father had been one of many admirers when they were younger, and that seemed to be true. He smiled. She had wasted her youth and beauty on him, the boy realized with pain. His mother finished her shopping while he was thinking and headed towards the house. "Mom!" He snuck up behind her and suddenly hugged her tightly. "Scared me to death. Couldn't you have called first?" the beautiful woman grumbled. "Why go so far?" he asked. It was the same near the house when he took the bag. "It's cheaper here. A short walk is good exercise," the mother answered sternly. For the sake of 1,001, she went so far, dragging a heavy bag, a loving son. They had to spend money on his sports activities, and now they were saving every penny. "Didn't he go out with friends?" his mother asked. The caring son waved her off. "They had things to do," he said. "Maybe we should have dinner at a restaurant," suggested Hui. "So, but why?" grumbled his mother. She had already bought everything. "He had made a little money today," the son said proudly, "so they could just leave the groceries at home." "How much did he earn?" she asked. "It was a secret," the son answered. "But he would show her when he earned well in the future." The tired woman laughed easily. "I'll repay you 100 times over, Hui," So thought as he watched her laugh. "What do you want to eat, sashimi or seafood?" the satisfied mother answered. It was not at all necessary. They walked home peacefully. The manager waited patiently for the X1 boss to look at everything. The director watched the fight attentively. The shouts of the crowd and commentators were heard through the speakers. They watched a video of a fight between a brash newcomer who had just recently started training in MMA. The guy made his debut a month later and showed himself well. He completely dominated his opponent throughout the fight. He used high techniques and tricks, defended himself well, and by all indications he was a high-class fighter. Impressive and spectacular jump kicks, the crowd roared with delight, and a brilliant knockout. At the end of the second round, an incredible fight, the director thought. The recording ended quickly, but the feeling of a good fight did not go away. "What do you say, director?" asked the assistant and turned on the light when the video came to an end. "He fights so damn well, the director couldn't hold back his emotions." "He is really a newbie. He was surprised since you haven't seen him. That means he is definitely a newbie," the manager replied. "It was worth leaving on a business trip. And here is a whole treasure. What team is he on?" the director asked. "Team Attack," the assistant answered. "This is the guy who refused Director Kim," the manager reminded. "That's why he has a dissatisfied face," the director realized. "He got into trouble because of that," the assistant added. "It's not surprising. He was set up by the person who asked for help," the director laughed. "But we won't have any problems with that," he asked his assistant. "The guy refused the money because he wanted to train with Sang-guk," the assistant reported, "which means he is loyal. 22 years old, served in the army, was read a resume by an assistant, received 2 million for the battle, and was also given a bonus. So, in total, he received 3 million, the director calculated. "Get it no matter what. Let him choose his own matches if he wants." The director lit up. "I'll get to it after the holidays. My assistant took over. The match just ended. There is one more person who caught the manager's attention." "That's all," said the manager. "He still has a meeting, so he won't be returning to the office." "And I'll take the card," said the manager. "Of course, don't deny yourself anything," the director allowed. "He loves MMA, but hasn't been this excited in a long time," the manager noted. "I wonder how far this guy will go," the manager thought. The director turned on the recording again. He became very excited, as if he had become younger. "How well he fights," the director of X1, the largest MMA fight organization, said again. Hui Seo walked slowly, enjoying the fresh air. It was a warm autumn, not hot and not cold, just what you need for a walk. "Oh, a familiar back?" His gaze involuntarily slid over the girl's slender figure. "Ming Yu," he cheerfully called the obstinate girl since they had already met. The beauty recognized his voice and turned around. "This idiot again," she thought. Without saying anything, he walked forward as before, What a little pest, thought Huiso. What a joy to meet her. The guy came closer. Stop pretending that they are friends, the girl bristled. Stop pretending to be smart. He snatched the small book from her hands. What a children's book. He assessed the cover with butterflies. Kindergarten, said the guy. This is philosophical literature. She gave the impudent guy a slap. Wow, so you can read? And how interestingly, the cheeky boy asked. You still won't understand even if I explain, the thorn answered. Come on, who can't read maps, he asked. It's written there about wise relationships, the art of life, and the history of mankind. She became embarrassed. Is she really a nerd? The guy whispered with his lips. I'll strangle him now if he doesn't stop. The beauty remained unperturbed. I don't recognize him at all, the guy noted. My mother didn't teach me not to talk to strangers, she asked. When they arrived in the hall, she continued to calmly ignore him and read. What a difficult character. The guy looked at the cute thorn. There he is, the slacker. Song-hoon entered the office. What are you sitting around for? He asked. Oh, Mr. Eyebrows, the rascal greeted. Let's go out, Song-hoon called him. What else? Hurry to the director's office for a minute, he said. Take this. Song-hoon handed over a stack of documents for the guy. This, he read more closely into the boring lines, with a not at all boring result. A contract from X1, the cheeky guy exclaimed excitedly. They want to sign an official contract, Song-hoon confirmed. Surprised, he asked the boy. He thought this would happen later. He was happy. A debut without a single missed shot, they couldn't miss it. The bushy-browed coach answered confidently. He was very lucky, he told the cheeky guy, who didn't understand whether it was a compliment or not. It's exciting. Even though Cho-yu couldn't show everything then, he didn't fight in his style. It won't be so easy from now on, the big-browed man warned. The daring guy truly understood that if his opponent had not underestimated him and not provoked him, he himself could have ended up being beaten. It happens in different ways, continued Sung-hoon. Sign the contract, he promised to tell the details later. 3 years, 3 matches. Even if you don't manage to play all the matches, the contract will end in 3 years. But what about the opposite? If in the first year he takes part in 3 matches and is unable to perform, the athlete asked. Good question. Look at the 4th point. Group versus group. The contract for the exchange of fighters was read by Hui So. This allows him to fight for other associations while they are owned by X1. The organizations conduct a dialogue directly, without intermediaries and taxes. Additional expenses are paid by the organization, and the training camp is paid by the fighters. It looks like there's a lot to pay. The internal financial consultant tensed up. The prize money may be modest, but with this contract, even if things go badly, they won't be able to fire him, because the benefits are more important than the prize money. You might think that the association is being greedy, but they do a great job of ensuring risks so that the athlete ends up winning. An important point, Sun Hoon pointed out, is that if he joins the SFC association, the contract is automatically considered cancelled. They are the main competitor for X1, so to ensure everything runs smoothly, there is a ban on exchanging fighters between them. What's wrong? Sung Hoon asked the worried boy, who was impressed by the mere mention of SFC. They arbitrarily declared themselves the best platform. Even though the standards of the sport rose, small organizations retained the title of impeccable. It is not surprising that even those who know little about this sport have heard of it. That's right, and now he won't be able to have anything to do with them for 3 years. The eyebrow guy grinned. Why did he do this? The guy asked. Insurance. The bushy-browed trainer moved on to the next point. If it is less than 500,000, the fighter pays. More, the organization. The penalties for incorrect weighing are the same, Sun Hoon read out. We've sorted out the main thing. It's time to count money. Of course. The impudent financier rubbed his hands. The lowest salary is $1 million. The base salary is 2, plus half for a win. For each win, the base salary will increase. Not sure about the pay, Hui So said. The rate is higher, but the bonuses for wins are lower. These are bonuses for newcomers. After their debut, experienced fighters need to win 8 fights to receive the same bonuses, explained the eyebrowed one. It would be possible to make a personal deal to get more. But there is no point in straining the association. The conditions are already the best that can be obtained. The last one is the bonus system, a prize for the fighter who puts on the most exciting fight. But he already knows. He has already received one. He finished with the bushy eyebrows. Remember this carefully before you sign the contract, said the serious, bushy-browed coach. It won't be easy anymore. Now everyone knows what he's capable of and will be ready. You should learn to fight in different styles and work harder, so be ready, yes? Exclaimed the impudent guy. Song Hoon waited until the boy put a cross next to his name and reached into his pocket. A present, he placed another paper on the table in front of Hui So. The new match is already being announced. The daring athlete was surprised. On New Year's Eve, he has a new match and a new opponent. The coach smiled contentedly. A crowd of bandits with bats and rebar picturesquely surrounded the hero in the center. With shouts, they rushed at him in a well-rehearsed sequence. Well-placed wide swings that went into the frame. They hit within millimeters of the hero in the middle, who also moved well. The stuntman turned his head in time and the fist slid across his face. Immediately after him, the next extra attacked, as if during a rehearsal. He was thrown back with a beautiful and effective roundhouse kick. The crowd of bandits parted, letting the fighter who had flown away pass. They screamed and rushed with redoubled fury. It looked natural. Die! The extra jumped up and flew at the actor in the center of the parking lot. They spun around in crazy, twisting strokes. A flying, spinning kick hit the target. They worked well. The actor kicked at head level, demonstrating good flexibility and form. The extra was very surprised after all. They were getting more than they were supposed to on the set today. But the lead actor didn't hesitate to give it his all. The last one left. The main character turned around at the sound of footsteps. "Come on," he read out a memorized line, according to the script. The big man clenched his sledgehammer fists and assumed a defensive stance. His hair was tousled by the sudden movements as they moved towards each other. The lead actor leaned over and raised his knee for a side kick. The foot flew firmly into the open defense, and at the moment of impact, the long-haired guy managed to jump to the side in sync. He pretended to choke after being hit and fell to his knees. The actor stood over the fallen enemy, clenching his fists tightly. That's all. He looked down menacingly, allowing the cameraman to take a close-up. It was filmed, there was a scream on the set, the scene ended, and the lights came on the set. Good shots of Sang Hoon, the director praised the main actor. The worried cameraman ran up to the extra. He saw how badly he got it. "We didn't overdo it," he asked the long-haired guy how he was. "We need to finish it in one take. We won't be reshooting." The big guy shook himself off. "Don't strain yourself so much anyway," the man told him. How could he let him down after he got this role for him? Hyseok scratched his head. "Be patient. When I become famous, I will not forget about you," his friend promised him. The phone rang at the hairdresser, Hyseok, and he bowed, stepping aside. "Of course, I agree," his friend heard the loud cry of the long-haired guy. They called from the audience. "He will have a fight on the main card. Things are getting better," the big guy rejoiced. "And when is the fight?" his comrade asked. "On New Year's Eve," he answered joyfully. They watched the recording of the fight. The long-haired brute held his defense tightly as if he were a rock. His opponent hit with all his might desperately, and with a sweeping motion it was obvious how tired he was. Despite his large body, the strong man deftly dodged numerous blows. He waited for the right moment and kicked his opponent in the ribs. And he finished him off with a quick hook from the left, with minimal delay. The match ended with a quick victory. The big guy showed good fundamentals. "What do you think?" asked his bushy-browed trainer. "A normal fight without holds in wrestling, in a standing position," noted Hui So. 4 fights in the amateur league, 2 professional fights, the basis of karate, 3rd Dan, victory at the nationals, read Song Hoon. "He has good fundamentals, a real thorn. They attack a lot, have good endurance," explained the bushy-browed coach. "Endurance is like a battery level. No matter how a person copes mentally, if he is exhausted, he will not be able to move. Many professionals who train for many years can freeze and take all the blows, not because they don't want to move or don't know how. There are 3 types of strategies for this match," Brovastic continued. "The first option is grabs and pushes. He's bad at them. But Hui So is bad too. So that option is out. The guy is pinned. The second one is to outshine him in endurance, but the impudent boy is smaller and has worse endurance, so this one is also out of luck." "What is the third option?" asked Song Hoon. "To go out and win," the impudent athlete threw up his hands. "Bingo!" the usually calm eyebrow twister suddenly exclaimed. "Attack relentlessly and crush his defenses until you break through him completely. If he were that strong, he wouldn't think about strategy and would just attack with all his might." Hui So sighed. "Such attacks don't exist," the eyebrow man said. "But there is technology," he noticed. "What kind of technology?" The impudent boy pricked up his ears. "Muay Thai, also known as Thai boxing." Sun Hun simply answered him. "This type of martial arts, the strongest in attack, especially elbow and knee strikes, master it, and you will be able to break his defense, Hyseok." "Let's start right now," suggested the bushy-browed guy. But the impudent guy was surprised who to learn from. Don't worry, everything is ready, Song-hoon praised himself. He will now be introduced as the only Thai boxing specialist on the team, said Sun-hoon. Here he is, the great slob with the bangs, Chung-hwan. There was a silent pause. Hui-so couldn't find anything to answer and wondered if this was a joke. He doesn't inspire confidence. He smiled tensely at his best friend. Sung-hoon asked him to teach the cheeky blockhead how to hit with his knee and elbow. But Young-hwan didn't agree with it, surprising Hui-so. You can't hit your opponent with your elbow on the ground, and you can't hit him with your knee when he's leaning on 3 points. At the moment, the most Hui-so can do is just push and kick, his friend noted. That's why you need to study the flame, said the friend. What kind of plum is this? Hui-so didn't understand. One of the important holds in Thai boxing for delivering elbow and knee strikes, the friend replied. There are many matches in which fighters lost because they did not know the flame. These techniques require a good base. First, let's learn how to grab, said Young-hwan. First, with your left hand, grab your opponent firmly by the neck. He will most likely do the same, your friend asked correctly. Then you pull your opponent's left hand with your right hand to create the correct angle. This is the flame grip. It takes the right angle to hit your opponent with your elbow at close range. You see, the fingers are free in this position. The one who takes it first will win this fight, showed the essence of the technique Young-hwan. Just like now, he suddenly grabbed the neck of his impudent friend and pulled him towards himself and down. This is training. Hui-so was indignant. Stop grumbling. How are you going to get out? He asked when he closed the lock on the back of his head. I'll just grab your arms and throw you off, said the daring fighter. But what if he hits you with his knee from below? Young-hwan began to work on it. He can't go back. They hold him tightly and only press harder. But if he tries to go to the legs, his head will be too close to his knee. Try to get out? Young-hwan easily dragged the guy from side to side. He completely controlled him. In the first half of the capture, you can still quickly shake off the enemy. If you have the strength and a quick reaction, he pushed away the impudent friend. There is nothing more terrible than getting caught in a flame when you are already pretty exhausted. Now he will show you how to get out. His faithful comrade taught him. He ordered Hui-so to grab him, and he locked the padlock around his friend's neck. He pressed his shoulder hard on his wrist, as if hiding his head in a shell. With a loud cry, his friend freed himself from the grip, easily throwing off Hui-so's hands. That's cool, the comrade said smugly. Stop fooling around. There's still a lot of work to do, the cheeky guy replied. This is part of the teaching of the great guru. Praise quickly, he kept joking. But looking at his serious friend, he continued, you need to take the correct stance if you are taken into flame, and tense your neck and back. If the opponent is the same height, then when he moves his back, his arms will straighten and the strength will leave them. He will no longer be able to control the grip. Then rotate your torso, use your shoulders as leverage, and break free from the grip, the friend explained. But if the hold is already complete, the strength of the neck is not enough to break free. You can try to knock him down while he hits with his knee. He asked Hui-so to use a full flame hold on him, and he clamped his hands around his neck. If you get stuck in a flame, you can slip your hand between your opponent's hands, he demonstrated. When the capture is complete, there is very little space, and the enemy, knowing what can be done, will actively interfere with this. But if you turn your shoulders and make the opponent look inside, Young-hwan made the move. No matter how little distance there is between the hands, you can slip out. In this case, the hand slides inside the grip. He hooks his right hand onto Hui-so's hand, and turning the body again, he easily tore apart the strong lock that it held. It is difficult to see the free space to get out, but the situation can quickly change into different outcomes. That was not bad, Hui-so praised his friend, more praise to the god of praise. He rejoiced. Who would have thought that such an unreliable slob would be useful? Continued the impudent guy. Come here, answered his friend. Since he used to wrestle, he should have good balance. He needs to learn this hold, and there will be no problems, summed up Young-hwan. That's all for today, time to shed, Young-hwan whispered quietly. Hui-so finished training. You can grab him? He waved his hand to his friend. Strength coach. Taeyong happily walked onto the stage. Finally fresh blood, the training maniac was blooming. For what? Everything in Hui-so's chest went cold, but it was too late to run. Why is he here, the traitor? He asked Young-hwan, and he justified himself by saying that the muscles of the neck and back are important for flame, and Taeyong is the best fit. That's how? Doesn't he know what kind of person this is? Hui-sung shook his friend desperately. And what kind of a man is he? A huge brute crept up from behind. Hiccup! The impudent guy cried out. So what kind of person is he, dear Kim Hui? So, the gorilla asked the guy. The best in the world, my favorite coach, Hui. So smiled tensely, letting his friend go. Since the guy appreciated it, let him carry it back now. Are the words about love really a lie? Asked the 120-kilogram fighter, putting his hands on his shoulders. He mounted the daring horse Hui. So, gallop on, faithful horse, he said to the boy. No pain, no gain, sarcastically following to a comrade Chan Huang. Who said he was staying? Taeyeon asked. He would ride him after. They are so busy and he doesn't want to disturb them, so he goes to train with Haibum. But he is busy with the beauty Yu-jin, the gorilla objected. Maybe there's someone else, Jung-hwan mumbled timidly as the athletes exchanged glances. Well, no, I understood their look. The sportsman is a slob. Save me, the hooligans are depriving me of my sight, he screamed and rushed away. But they were in a cage. There was nowhere to run and he was pressed against the net. The monsters pounced on the poor guy, and the impudent horse carried Taeyeon to victim number 2. A few weeks later, they engaged in some light sparring with grappling. Jung-hwan quickly raised his hand to grab his friend. Hui-so saw all the movements and easily defended himself, blocking the attacks. And he was even able to counterattack, but Jung-hwan dove under the swing of his hand. They moved quickly in a stance, attacking and counterattacking at close range. Hui-so knocked Jung-hwan's hand away and got even closer. He felt a grip on his neck. His friend became noticeably faster. Pressing his neck lower, Hui-so fired his knee into his stomach. Jung-hwan straightened up with the strength of his back to prevent himself from being caught in a full lock. Hui-seo slipped his hand inside Jung-hwan's grip and held his neck tightly. The knee dug painfully into the side of his ribs, and Jung-hwan cried out. Jung-hwan slipped his hand between them and pressed it against Hui-seo's chest. Turning his body, he broke their grip and the fighters flew in different directions around the ring. Both landed on their feet and quickly regained their balance. Enough, Jung-hwan said suddenly. They had finished sparring. He did a good job, he got the gist of it and praised me pretty quickly, his friend. Rest until the next training, he waved at him, and a tired Hui-so fell to the floor. It's lucky that Jung-hwan studied Thai boxing professionally. Without him, he wouldn't have learned it. His strength and endurance increased. The daring guy assessed himself, although usually you can get one thing. One tired cutie suddenly sat down next to him. These days? Hui-so asked the girl, referring to the days before the fight when you need to watch your weight. Die, she answered silently. No snacks, fatty foods, fast food or salt. It was already hard without juicy chicken. She could afford nuts and dark chocolate. In addition, the girl had to drink a lot of water, 6 or even 8 liters a day, which affected her mental state. Fewer calories, more training, and running to the toilet all the time. It's no wonder that the usually prickly girl turned into an irritated hedgehog. And yet he wanted to support her somehow since the beauty tried so hard. Only 10 days left to endure, he gave the girl his signature smile 32. Why is it talking to me, the beauty wondered. Let him take better care of himself, she bristled. But how can he not take care of his peer and friend? The impudent guy insisted. Get lost, you're annoying, she replied. But the guy absorbed all the barbs. I really wanted to strangle her, but it was clear that she was having a hard time. Hui-so thought, when the coach brought Yu-jin some water. The girl stood up sluggishly but obediently. Hui-so looked at her small back. Now he treated her like a friend, and it was not easy to watch her suffer. She wants to die now, he thought so hard when he was called out. It's time already, Taeyeon called to him, and a chill ran down the back of the daring athlete. The big guy in front of him did not promise an easy walk. Time for a fun warm-up, that is, a workout before the warm-up, the coach laughed cheerfully. The cheerful inscription on the t-shirt only increased the oppressive feeling, I will kill you, Hui-so read. Mom, give him back. He thought about how many heavy sets they would prescribe today. Time flew by, the team got 5 matches. Jung-hwan participated in the Central League battle. There were no problems with the other 3 matches either. Yu-jin won a tough match in the 3rd round with a choke and became a star in the lightweight division. The slacker friend almost won his match but missed a counterpunch and was knocked out. Taeyong got so angry that he promised to strangle the negligent fighter, but he took it all as a joke, and he was almost strangled. How bad it is because of the weight control, the cheeky guy whined. Song-hoon sternly told him to be patient, because others have it much harder. There was no noise this time, the cheeky guy noticed. And what did he want more noise? The bushy-browed coach asked, and Hui-so shook his head. That was also normal. He was called to the weigh-in and he ran there cheerfully. Give me your things, helped the bushy-browed Sun-hoon when he started to fuss. Fighter Lee Hui, so passed, weight 77 and 2 kilograms. Next, Ho Seok called the head judge who was conducting the event and called again when the fighter did not show up. He was there when they took roll call at the beginning, was surprised by Hui So, and heard the sounds of the flush tank. Sorry, I went to the toilet. Ju Seok came out of the stall in a dirty suit. Even without makeup, he looked lousy. Where is the escort? The judge asked. The guy looked so bad like he was about to die. He couldn't lose weight, Hui So thought. He almost fell off his feet, but the referee managed to catch the exhausted, long-haired fighter. Ho Seok weighed in. Results announced. 77.5. Shirtless, he looked like a formidable opponent. I'm thirsty. I'm thirsty. The cheeky guy urged the trainer impatiently, but he kept rummaging through his bag. It seems he forgot the bottle in the car. How many people has he trained and still forgets water? Song-hoon grumbled at him. Are you thirsty, Hui? So heard a muffled voice from behind. Take this, please. The guy with bags under his eyes spoke politely and offered his water, even though he himself was suffering from dehydration. It's embarrassing for what he did. It was hard to lose weight because of work. Jisuk apologized. What kind of job is this? Asked the cheeky guy. A small role as a hooligan in a movie. The long-haired big guy became embarrassed. It's not easy since you also have to work part-time, Sung-hoon said sympathetically. The role is small, but you have to work hard. Jisuk justified himself. I think I'll go, he said. It's not nice to be too friendly before a fight, said the long-haired fighter. Thanks for the water, said goodbye to Hui So. A good guy, he said. Cho Woo-chung was a real beast. True, the bushy-browed trainer agreed. But don't feel sorry for him for being polite. He'll fight like a dog. Of course, he will give it his all at the match, the cheeky young man answered decisively. On the day of the match, he was chewing on some strange dry vegetables. How he wanted some chicken, the cheeky guy whined. What a sumptuous feast. Chestnut hair tickled the face. The sweet smell of chocolate teased the nostrils. Today is her day off. Hawi. So was surprised by the appearance of the girl. She helps Young-hwan with the fight, the beauty explained. Since they even called her, it means that Young-hwan is serious, said Hui. So, otherwise Taeyong will fold him in half, the cutie answered, and reached for a slice. It doesn't taste that bad. Why whine? The cheeky girl inserted a pin. Then come on in, Hui So suggested. I'll eat until my stomach bursts, he grumbled, mashing the vegetables. Look, the prickly cutie guest pulled some candy out of her pocket and put it in front of him. Snacks of chocolate and red ginseng, eaten an hour before the fight, improve blood circulation, she explained. But why such concern, Hui? So was surprised it just remained. The girl turned away embarrassedly. Really? Let her also say that they were lying on the floor. The impudent athlete did not believe her. I told you it just remained, the angry cat hissed. She brought them on purpose. The impudent guy teased and grabbed her in the face with a salad. Get out of here, dog, the girl shouted. She was thinking about how to strangle the impudent guy, but suddenly her cell phone rang. It's time to go down, Jung-hwan. I need help with my things, the girl said quietly. Before she leaves, he told her. If you even think about making jokes, I'll finish you off, the prickly cat immediately warned. Thank you for your concern, the cheeky guy smiled sweetly and sincerely. This is how you should always answer, she muttered quietly in a thin voice. Come on, don't disgrace yourself there in the ring, the girl extended her fist. Of course he would win. Their fists touched as he lightly punched her. The coaches watched the fights from undress. Another fight ended. The time for Hui So's fight was approaching. Another knockout? Are they on doping or something? The bushy-browed trainer frowned. So. Hui Seo unpacked the candy he received from the cheeky girl. What are you already eating? Taeyong asked him. Ginseng and chocolate, which Yoo-jin gave him. Told him to eat before the match, the athlete answered. This thorn, the big guy was surprised. How disgusting it is. Even chocolate, the impudent fighter grimaced. He was about to take a nap. Taeyong was even more surprised. Mental training? He sprawled on Hui So's chair. Maybe he's crazy because he's not worried at all, the blonde coach noted. The same thing happened in the first match, not worried at all, which made it even more worrying. Song-hoon frowned. It's good that he's not their concern now. They need to think about their fighters. The bushy-browed trainer sighed. The scoundrel decided to sleep, Taeyeon shouted. He was meditating. The impudent fighter justified himself. What kind of snoring meditation is this? The big guy didn't believe him. Blue corner fighter Lee Hui-sung. The stands thundered, welcoming. The long-awaited moment had arrived. It is not surprising that he is being greeted so much. Everyone remembers the match that was in September, the commentator said. Isn't his schedule too tight? Another answered. There were no injuries in the last fight, and Lee Hui-so couldn't miss the final event of the year. which meant X1 expected a lot from him, they discussed. Will he live up to expectations? The hosts wondered, as Hui So prepared to enter the ring. Stay on the edge of the zone. Don't be greedy. Don't lose control, the bushy-browed trainer instructs before the fight. Okay, I'll remember, promised the daring athlete, anticipating the fight. Go ahead, tear him apart, Hui. So finally climbed into the ring. He warmed up his body as usual, as if before sparring, making light jumps. Ju Seok appeared. Now he looked stern and massive. There was no trace of exhaustion. The shaggy giant walked into the cage, the difference in their sizes making itself felt. The referee read them the rules and gave them the go-ahead as the fighters faced each other in the center of the ring. He is huge. Although almost the same height, big muscles will allow him to fight to the point of madness. Hui So analyzed his opponent. Red is ready, blue is ready. The referee gave the command to fight and stepped aside. At the first sound of the gong, Ju Seok rushed towards Hui So like a dog on the loose. But this time, the daring guy kept his distance and was in no hurry. It was not to his advantage to enter into an exchange with a large opponent. He met his opponent with a series of long punches and jabs to test his defense and break his tempo. Hui So kicked the ball into his thigh, but Ju Seok managed to raise his knee and block the serve. He immediately counterattacked, pressing with all his mass. A powerful blow to the body to the liver found a gap in the daring guy's defense. It hurt. Hui So continued to dodge and study his opponent. He was almost pinned against the fence, but Hui So managed to get out with a deft jump and deliver a short jab to the head. The shaggy big guy maintained a strong defense and was not afraid to get close to his opponent. Well, really, everything doesn't matter, Hui. So realized after the blow, this blow won't knock the big guy down. Keep the pace and control the attacks, the bushy-browed coach shouted from below. Ju Seok moved like a bull. His fists widened and he came dangerously close. A powerful right hook to Hui So's guard knocked him aside. He had to stop to regain his balance and immediately took another series of heavy shots on defense. How tough, Sun Hoon assessed their opponent. But they have something to respond with. Hui So was good at defending himself against attacks he couldn't dodge. He deftly dodged blows to the head and was just a hair's breadth away from a heavy knockdown. Ju Seok's cannon shot knocked down his crossed block. An explosive uppercut almost took off his chin, but Hui So managed to stop his opponent's movement in time with a kick to the chest. A direct counter push knocked even a big guy like Ju Seok back. The strong mop quickly regained his balance and prepared to repel further attacks. But his appearance became confused. The enemy was behaving too insolently. He's gone crazy. What is he doing, Coach Hui? So was stunned. Why did he lower his defense? Hui So opened up completely. He stretched out like a wild mongoose, making it clear who was currently in control of this field. He's deliberately asking for trouble. The shaggy big guy assessed the situation. Nothing has changed. You need to press until the enemy is exhausted. The main thing is to maintain the rhythm. Ju Seok went on the attack. And instantly, he ran into a straight left to the head, bypassing all defense. Hui So easily stopped his opponent. He attacks quickly. He clearly saw the enemy's next move. The next movement was also quick, and the big guy managed to notice it out of the corner of his eye. The right landed on the side. Ju Seok didn't have time to raise his defense. That was not all. He saw how Hui So regained his balance and was preparing to attack again. Low kick, prepared to defend from below, Ju Seok, and pulled up his leg. No middle kick to the left, he responded as Hui So changed his stance and raised his right leg. Again a trick. The fighter became confused, not knowing what to expect from the enemy. Hui So had completely confused him. He was superior to the big guy in speed, and now he was also using tricks. Everything has changed. He is forced to constantly watch Hui So's legs to understand when to expect a blow. Without noticing it, the big guy had his back against the net and was being driven into a corner. They completely changed roles. Now Ju Seok was the hunted victim, looking for a way to get out. Contemptuous exclamations were heard from the audience about why he was standing there and swearing. Although he had never been hit before, the audience did not understand his situation. Ju Seok gritted his teeth. No matter how difficult it was, he decided to break through. A side middle kick landed right under Ju Seok's elbow into his body, and while he was thinking, Hui So attacked. But the big guy stayed on his feet, even after he was kicked. Hui So took a step and raised his knee again as if for a kick. But instead of the lower one, he struck the upper one, right in the big guy's face, almost taking his head off. Strong neck muscles held his head in place, but the blow stunned Ju Seok. He was pinned against the net and bombarded with a hail of blows from all positions. The shaggy big guy again tried to break through, but this time to the side. The crazy and daring guy chased him with a crab, as if inviting him to join him. These stupid tricks again. Ju Seok was nervous. He got it hard. He attacked straight and was met with a clean counter right straight. Hui So ruined his rhythm of attack. It's hard to analyze when the opponent does feints and tricks. All sense of distance is completely lost. The eyebrow stick grinned. Hui So methodically broke down the enemy's defense, crushing him with a heavy bombardment. He had to hold out until the last blow, Ju Seok realized. He would definitely run out of breath soon and stop. Now, he caught the moment when Hui So swung for a strong blow. If we counterattack now, as he is closing in, the battle will turn around again. But the daring opponent dodged the counterattack and came dangerously close. The bastard read his intentions, the long-haired big guy belatedly realized. A sharp knee stung him in the side along his floating ribs, and Ju Seok winced in pain. The pain from the damage paralyzed him. He couldn't move. With the last of his strength, he raised his hands in a deep defense. He needed to drag out time until the end of the round. The impudent mongoose drove his knee straight into the stomach at full speed. Another monstrous blow. Even the strong body of the big guy could not withstand it. Excellent, the bushy-browed coach rejoiced. Keep it up, he shouted. Ju Seok was hunched over and backing away like a crab, and Hui Seo was waiting for him to stick his head out. Now that the enemy was immobilized, the daring fighter could stroll towards his target. The shaggy strong man found himself at the net again. So much pressure was put on him by his daring opponent. Hui So cracked his eyes open with sharp, small movements of his legs. He provoked the enemy by standing in front of him, within striking distance, completely open. He's probably thinking about how much strength and stamina he still has left, Hui So noted. Don't worry so much. The fun time is over for him. Now it's time to play Hui. So, he bared his teeth predatorily. There goes the shaggy big guy. Completely confused, he was already completely broken and didn't know what to do. Punch after punch came and he took several jabs to the head. Unable to counterattack, he absorbed all of Hui So's blows. It was only by a miracle that he held on against the barrage of precise attacks, each one stronger than the previous ones. You can't give up like that. The fighter held on with all his might. Seizing the moment, he ducked under the blow and went for Hui So's legs, grabbing him. But he didn't lose his composure. His heel deftly hooked the opponent's supporting leg. Turning his body with a light movement of his hand, Hui So threw off the heavy giant. Ju Seok regained his balance and made another attempt to take the fight to the ground. What? He managed to notice the quick movements of Hui So's hands. There you go, little bastard, exclaimed the bushy-browed trainer, recognizing the familiar move. Hui Seo used a plum on Ju Seok, a Thai boxing move he and his friend had practiced. He clasped his hands behind the healthy opponent's head and he couldn't get away. Gathering his entire body like a spring, Hui So drove his knee into the victim's body. The fight turned into a one-sided beating. The damage that had accumulated over the entire round now spread as pain throughout Ju Seok's body. Hui So landed on his feet and continued to break his opponent with his knee. Get out, was all Ju Seok's useless coach could advise. The big guy pulled himself together and punched Hui So in the jaw. But due to his position, the blow could not be strong. And he calls it a punch, Hui So didn't even notice the jab. What a blow. He pulled Ju Seok's neck to the ground and nailed him in the head with his knee. The big guy held the block tightly, like a turtle hiding in its shell. No matter how tough he was, it was becoming too dangerous, the host commented. Hui So's leg swung back like a powerful pendulum. This time, the cannon shot penetrated the remains of Ju Seok's defense, exploding his head. The big guy slowly sank into the ring. Hui So did not let go and went forward. When the tuft fell, he pounced on top and methodically pounded his fists on the head. The caring, bushy-browed trainer suggested, press on the neck. With his hand firmly planted on Ju Seok's neck, the daring boy was able to deliver powerful blows. Grab him and throw him to the ground, the big guy's useless trainer shouted. Ju Seok was shaking from the pain and blows, but even more from his helplessness. Gritting his teeth and overcoming himself, he was able to rise and grab the impudent guy. But the mongoose Hui Seok was ready for this. Pulling his legs back, he easily broke the grip. The desperate steps were met with retribution, as Ju Seok's neck ended up in Hui So's elbow grip. In one movement, he closed the chokehold, placing his hand on top of his own. This technique, the commentator shouted, recognizing the popular technique. After escaping the hold, Li Hui So performed a guillotine from above. The situation became hopeless for the big guy. He could neither break the hold nor throw his opponent off. He was quickly running out of oxygen in his blood and time to think. Hui So pressed harder, squeezing the thick neck of his healthy opponent. The referee elbowed him in the gut and pulled him away from Ju Seok. He ordered stop. The fight is over. Victory via choke. Hui So catches his breath after a tough fight. The commentators were delighted, along with the spectators, as the fight that began so uncertainly ended in a rout and strangulation. In 4 minutes and 18 seconds, Hui So takes his second win in the first round, the cocky guy throwing his hands up in victory. The little fool did a great job, and during the hugs, the big guy Taeyeon ran to the winner. What a guy! He only recently learned the holds, the blonde guy said. And he really is amazing, Song-hoon agreed. He acts calmly, but he himself is so excited that he can barely contain himself, the blonde noted. It's good that at least someone else gets this excited during a fight, he thought. Today, he relived the forgotten feelings from his first MMA fights. Great job. Today, the winner can do anything. Okay, I'll sing now, said a joyful Hui So, sitting astride Taeyeon. Son, enjoy your evening, his mother called him, and he went out to answer while others celebrated his victory. What's wrong with Mom's voice? Did she really drink? Asked the worried son. Just one glass, said the adult woman. Just don't get drunk. You're not good with alcohol. Hui So was worried, but his mother said that she drank at home. I'm so sorry, the loving mother repented. Don't worry, her caring son reassured her. She didn't support him when he first started. The woman was upset, but he's stubborn, the loving son objected. She felt like she was making him fight for money. He had been through so much and couldn't even eat properly. His mother almost cried. She's probably a bad mother. A completely disintegrating drunk woman. Luckily, he heard his father's voice. Completely drunk, the old man grumbled. She's completely wasted. Don't worry, he'll take care of her. The son can rest, said the father. Calm her down, the caring son asked, and the father promised to cope. He performed well, and his dad told him the most important words in the life of any child. He still has to work and work so that his mother doesn't worry anymore. The guy breathed a sigh of relief. With this team, he will definitely succeed, he smiled. A recording of a fight where Hui So sang, like a herd of bison roaring, played throughout the restaurant. Here comes the hero of the occasion. The coaches are shouting at him, the drinking is in full swing, he should take a couple of vocal lessons. What a terrible singing. It was as if he had no ear for music. How embarrassed he was in front of the audience. His teammates teased the winner. They met each other's eyes for a second, and he remembered the dark chocolate and the silky hair on his cheek. Thorn made a face, covering her face with her hand. What a cheeky girl, thought Hui So. She will also laugh at him. The last thread of patience snapped in him. Now he will arrange a merry drinking party for them. The hall burst into loud screams. A few weeks later, Taeyong was yelling madly at his protege. Hopeless. He is hopeless. He pounced on Jung Hwan. He told him not to rush. The coach was indignant. The other coaches could barely restrain the brute. Well done, Jung Hwan. Don't be sad, the other trainer told him and led the mad bull away. Everything is wrong. The exhausted fighter exhaled heavily. Refresh yourself. The cold can of soda felt pleasant on the bruised cheek. Oh, thank you, said Jung Hwan. Don't worry about it, Hui So reassured him. Sorry, he didn't live up to expectations. He helped him so much. The fighter reproached himself. At least he didn't lose. Consoled Hui So. In the first round, everything went well for him. He started with a straight one, which won the sympathy of the audience. Taeyong shouted at him to press slower and watch his opponent better. But the slob got too overheated and pounded the deep defense like a wind-up toy, ignoring all advice. As soon as he got tired, he opened his chin, following his bad habit. And in the end, what was supposed to happen happened. Both fighters exchanged blows simultaneously in the center of the ring, and both of them fell into a deep knockout, which amused the spectators' stands. But since Jung Hwan won again, he won't become a pro anytime soon. You won't scold me, the annoyed friend was surprised. He was going to. Hui So admitted honestly, but his comrade had already heard enough. He is definitely a good fighter, but he is too reserved in the ring, under the eyes of the cameras and spectators, and it is very difficult for him now. You'll win next time, I'm sure, said the cheeky friend. Will he? A shadow of doubt fell on the face of the usually carefree guy. Hui So, he turned to his friend after a heavy silence. He had already thought about it, and his friend began a difficult conversation. The guys went ahead and called them, interrupting the serious conversation. Now let's go. Jung Hwan perked up. He decided that now was not the best time for such conversations. Forget it. He smiled with his broken mouth at his best friend. Let's go before Taeyong loses his temper again, okay, Hui? So resigned himself. He didn't say anything. He just watched his depressed friend go, and at that moment his back seemed small. Great news for our gym. Young Kun signed a contract with SFC, told great news, eyebrow coach. The audience loudly congratulated the athlete, Everyone was happy and suggested celebrating. The world is so fickle, muttered Hui. So, and what's wrong? Grumbled the thorn nearby. Yesterday, Young Hwan lost the opportunity to debut. And today, Young Kun received a contract with SFC. The guy was at a loss to decide whether to rejoice or cry. It didn't matter that Young Hwan was already hanging on Young Kun's arms, the girl noticed. Another announcement, in mid-June, there will be a match, and they need a person for the coaching team, announced Sung Hoon. The eyes of the experienced coaches lit up. An away match was a great opportunity to travel. Everyone immediately rushed to him like cats to sour cream. The blonde guy wanted it so much that he even pushed the massive Taeyeon aside. Me, he asked me to. But it's not so easy to push aside a giant. He himself could push aside anyone, and he proposed his candidacy. Why are they silent? Asked the eyebrow-bearing extras. Do they have a chance? Whined the other team members. Part of the crew, part of the ship, said Song-hoon. Everyone has a chance. Wonderful, the athletes blossomed with rays of hope. Those who debuted as pros and had a match coming up were excluded, Sung-hoon said sternly. And the gang immediately faded away. This is the order from the authorities. Hui So was filled with enthusiasm. Even the thorn on the right wagged its tail. But then who should go? Everyone asked a logical question, and Sun Hoon thought about it. Let's draw lots. He took out a board to draw stripes for the game. Great. Go out one by one and choose a number. Everything is mixed up so that no one guesses. When he finished, he immediately warned everyone that no matter who won, there should be no hard feelings, and the team agreed. Hui So will be the first one, the bushy-browed coach said, and everyone visibly tensed up. Lucky, so lucky, the lucky bastard rejoiced, not noticing the upset looks around him. Luck is not a crime, the impudent guy weakly justified himself. Well, congratulations, said the bushy-browed coach, and the guy smiled modestly. Just in case. Does he have a certificate? Asked Song-hoon. What kind of certificate? The guy was surprised. White with a seal, answered the eyebrow. To be a second coach in SFC, you need a sports license with a state seal. Is there really none? Asked the bushy-browed coach, and Hui. So, tensed up, he answered, none. It's a pity that he can't get through. Song-hoon responded mockingly to the lucky, impudent fellow. This can't be, the impudent guy was horrified. Maybe next time, the coach consoled the defeated impudent man to the general jubilation of the crowd. Let's just play one more time. He reached for the marker. It's not over yet. It's too early to give up. The daring fighter has risen to his feet. He can get a license before the match starts. There is still time, the impudent guy declared decisively. Do you want to qualify now? Sung-hoon asked doubtfully. The match is already in June. When will he have time? But the cheeky guy has already poked the phone screen, that's what he said. He showed the advert for the second-level test for a sports trainer. The test was in May, the results were in a week. This is more than enough before the match. The daring guy did not lose his enthusiasm. Sung-hoon wanted to explain the details, but Taeyong interrupted him. How could they sit and wait to see if he passed the test or not? Reasonable things. Hui. So had nothing to say in response to this. The lonely thorn stocked up on popcorn and watched the battle from the sidelines. If he gets a license, he will go to the match. If not, he will treat the entire team to a banquet worth 300,000. He put forward the conditions. The sum is round, thought Hui. So he earned it for winning the last match, the gym fan insisted, mere trifles for him. All you need to do is get qualified, thought the cheeky guy. They are waiting so tensely, something is clearly fishy here, the athlete doubted. And Sung-hoon looked unhappy. Taeyong reassured the coach that everything would be fine, and the daring fighter pondered over his decision. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work out, he'll just pay. But the daring guy wasn't going to miss such an opportunity. Shake on it, he agreed, and Taeyong accepted the bet. Don't back out later, he said sternly. This concerns him too. Hui. So answered him. Freebie. Let's decide what we'll drink and eat, the other coaches agreed, as if they had already written off Hui So. But he's trying so hard, guys. What do you think needs to be done first? Taeyeon said sternly. We need to decide who will go instead of him. He ended with another farce. Hui So snored peacefully over his textbooks, which he hadn't sat down to since school. His caring parents watched and tried not to disturb him. The old, unshaven master returned to the hall after a long bender. Boss, the bushy-browed trainer greeted him as he came around the corner. What did not expect to see the boss at work? Asked the unshaven master. Here are the snacks. He gave a bag. All because the master worked outside the hall, said Song-hoon. There is so much here. The brow-bearer was surprised. The master had already eaten, he asked him. and he answered that he had eaten before coming. They cleaned the hall well. It was so clean the old master was surprised. Song-hoon probably made everyone scrub everything. He can be left in charge of the hall since he's so meticulous, the unshaven master thought, looking at his colleague. Who do we have here? The unshaven master wondered, looking into the break room. Hui Seo is preparing for the test to become a trainer. Sang-guk learned from the eyebrowed man. He said that he can't concentrate at home. What kind of test is this? Asked the unshaven master. The second level of the trainer, Song-hoon shared the details. He won the position of Yong-kun's second coach, but he doesn't have any qualifications to be admitted, so he's puffing and puffing, said the thick-browed man. Why didn't you dissuade him? The old master grumbled, as if it would be easy to do with this stubborn blockhead. But the unshaven master wanted to object, but Song-hoon raised his hands. Everything had gone too far anyway. It was too late to dissuade him. Why is everything so ugly when I just step away for a moment? The lazy master grumbled regretfully. He has a rating match in May, Sang-guk said. Great news, the thick-browed man rejoiced. A lightweight match, the lazy master clarified. But why suddenly Sun-hoon was surprised? His body is not very inclined to gain muscle mass. His opponents are bigger than him, and it will only get more difficult. He needs to fight in his own category. He is not so experienced in losing weight, and if he still worries about preparing for the test, he might not cope. The unshaven master worried. Let's listen to what he has to say first, the grumpy coach decided. I can handle it, the daring fighter declared without a shadow of a doubt. He understands exactly what is happening, he grumbled. The master, of course, the athlete answered confidently. You will need to lose a lot of weight. I'll need to lose 10 kilograms from my current weight, plus a diet, and then study. Then it will be very hard, the old master insisted. We can just start and then we'll see, the guy said confidently. He promised to make sure that nothing interfered with his training. Everything will work out. He is Li Hui. So, the impudent guy proudly poked himself in the chest. Is this enough to take his word for it? The master grumbled. What else is left? You just have to try. The young and daring one dug his heels in. Okay, said the grumpy master after a moment of thought. Let him do as he pleases, Hui. So heard the old master's approval with joy. But there is a condition, the grumpy coach shook his finger sternly, that the guy should not even think about refusing. There should be no overlap, training, sleep, food, study. You can't get up early and go to bed late for the sake of study, the master said sternly. They will prepare for the match together, the unshaven master suddenly declared. He is always on a bender, the impudent fighter was surprised. This time the enemy is serious. You need to know how to fight him, so he will help, said old man Huai-so. Of course, all matches are important, the old master continued to grumble. But this case is special. Win or lose, how he behaves during the match will affect his career. That's clear, he asked the guy. He responded promptly and energetically, always ready. This match is the most important. If you do everything haphazardly, you can lose everything for which you worked so long and hard. He pointed his finger at the boy. Okay, I'll remember this, the guy mumbled. What a weak answer, the old master grumbled at him. If you doubt, don't take it on, he pressed. I'm ready to put my life on the line, the impudent guy shouted loudly throughout the room. Excellent, that's better, the unshaven master grumbled contentedly. Here is your opponent's data. He handed several sheets to Hui-so. What kind of stupid name is he? I couldn't read it, cheeky guy. Mitsubishi Suzuki, this is your first time fighting a foreigner, the old master laughed. Don't let the Korean auto industry down. As the store, Mitsubishi, greeted the bespectacled, bearded salesman. Yes, the stooped Japanese man rubbed his glasses. He was acting deliberately modest. The bearded fat man scratched his belly. Everything is okay, he asked his employee, and he quietly answered that everything is fine. The buyer forgot to take the change. The bespectacled man mumbled. The beard said nothing. Consider that he earned a few kopecks. The bespectacled man began to lament that if a person would not be able to ride the metro if he did not have enough of these kopecks. How can a man be so timid? That's why he doesn't get along with anyone. The fat man patted him on the shoulder. In any case, you did a good job for 2, the shift is over, you can go home, the bearded man, the fussy employee, let go. After changing his clothes, Suzuki went outside, gaped like a klutz, and ran into a passerby. Sorry, the bespectacled Japanese man apologized overly modestly. Mitsubishi slowly made his way to his room, and the closer he got, the more intensely the fire burned in him. As soon as he crossed the threshold, another person appeared, replacing the timid and cowardly one. He looked closely at everyone present in the room, which made them catch their breath. The athletes quickly stepped aside, making way for the unsociable fighter. Mitsubishi took off his glasses like a restraining seal and carefully placed them on the shelf. The long-eared maniac killer changed into a sports uniform. Suzuki walked up to the bag, warming up. He loved hitting the punching bag the most. Again, this crazy guy made other athletes tense up, thinking about changing the gym. The sounds of heavy blows echoed throughout the hall, the bag swinging like a toy. The blows were a dry bang, as if a heavyweight was hitting. The bespectacled man could not be called a weakling. The valley maniac broke into a creepy grin, imagining how he was beating living flesh. Meat. More meat. The blood boiled in his veins when someone called him. Mitsubishi. He told me to come to the office when I arrived. The mustachioed trainer yelled at him that he came because of the sound of blows. You're raping the pair again? His master waved his papers. Crazy, he thought. Stop apologizing, it's no use anyway, he shouted at the negligent fighter. The match was in March. He gave him papers with an offer from the association. Li Hui. So, the maniac read the name on the papers. Here is fresh meat, the inner voice whispered. Meat? Let's have a feast, a bloody feast, a real bathhouse. Tear everyone apart, whispered the voices of the madmen. Li Hui Seo rubbed the back of his head. Someone remembers, he thought, as he puzzled over the exam questions. What kind of stupid questions are these? He gave up. His mother told him to study at school, son, but no, he didn't listen. Now he suffered. The fighter was grieving. Stop pretending you have a brain. His thin voice pricked him. Why is he sitting here, wearing out his pants, and not in the restroom? Asked him the gorgeous and sweet sportswoman. He thinks better here, he answered. Close the door before you leave, she said in an indifferent tone, and was about to leave, but the guy suddenly stopped her. Do you know what is written here? He asked her, not understanding why, but he didn't want her to leave so quickly. And what was there? She leaned closer. The spicy smell of cherries and chocolate teased her nostrils. That stupid question he showed in the book. And this one, here's just something to cram. The girl gave her verdict anyway, he's too stupid to understand. And this one too, she read his list. At some point he stopped listening to her and just looked at her lips. No wonder she's been nicknamed the MMA goddess. Long brown hair that smells like lavender shampoo. Beautiful jasper eyes shine brightly and attractively in the sunlight. Velvety skin, elastic and toned, glowing with health due to the fact that she plays sports. The scent of perfume quickly intoxicated. What are you staring at? She caught his intense gaze. Nothing special. She just smells delicious. The guy blurted out without thinking. Oh, he realized that he had fallen into a trap, and now he didn't know which paw he needed to bite off to get out. The smell is nice. I like your perfume, he tried to explain. But it only got worse. I just got out of the shower, she said in a gentle and embarrassed voice, thoughtfully twirling her silky hair around her finger. That's right, that's the whole point. He smiled like a complete fool. If there are no more questions, then I'll go. The girl stood up calmly. It's good that she didn't get angry. He took a breath. And what kind of voice was that? He looked after the beauty with the narrow waist. She was leaving again. Eugene, he decided to call the girl. He was also going to go. Didn't she want to go with him? Then he awkwardly scratched the back of his head and tried to speak calmly. This completely broke their usual pattern of communication, so the girl even froze. He was also silent. Silence is a sign of consent, but he didn't know it, so he thought he had just been brushed off. That's right. Song-hoon gave him a bunch of tasks, so it won't work whether he was saving his reputation or digging deeper, depending on how you look at it. For a long time, she suddenly asked softly, as if nothing unusual was happening. How long will he help Song-hoon? The dumb girl almost added at the end, embarrassed, and again twirled her silky hair around her finger. Yes, perhaps. The guy who had just lost the last bits of his mind was terribly slow. And what? He asked. I just asked, the beauty answered, slightly disappointed. She left, the girl said, and he absurdly wished her good luck and to take care of herself. What was that now? The klutz completely lost his former audacity. Yes or no? That is the question. If yes, then yes, and if no, then no. Thoughts swarmed like bees in the young head. The bell quickly brought him back to his senses as it rang at full volume. This is an old master. He read the message with the video of his opponent. But what did he hope for? The heated guy asked himself. What's wrong with this patient? The cheeky guy experienced a bout of vomiting. Hui So was deep in thought, but it wasn't his crazy opponent that worried him. Did that cheeky Thorn notice what he was trying to do? They had grown distant again lately, he thought about the girl. What was I thinking about? An unshaven master, the boss, appeared and the guy immediately said hello. He's not overexerting himself, the old coach grumbled, and everything is on schedule, Hui So confirmed. Excellent. The master praised his efforts and asked if he had seen the Mitsubishi fight. The daring guy, completely out of his mind, gave this assessment of his opponent. He appears to be a talented boxer, with furious attacks that stun his opponents and bring him closer to victory. But there is one problem. He has absolutely no breaks. Even when the fight is already over and the referee stops him, he tries to finish off his opponent. At the weigh-in, he looks shy, doesn't even look his opponents in the eye, and when he beats them, he looks like a real maniac. That red-headed guy is just a naughty child compared to this crazy guy. 10-win streak, only 1 loss. History in X1 starts with 6 wins. He's a pretty successful fighter, fast, defends well. Considering this, the guy needs to box, but he is definitely worse at this. An unpleasant opponent, because their styles are very similar. And he began to notice details better. The training helped. He already knows how to fight, the old master noted. But Hui So threw up his hands. He had not yet been taught this. I saw that match, his coach asked. I saw it, the impudent guy answered incomprehensibly. The match ended in a technical knockout. The victory over Mitsubishi would be based on this match, the unshaven master told him sternly. Objectively speaking, Choi Do-hee is weaker and slower than John Silly, the unshaven master explained. Despite this, Choi's strikes were preemptive. And even if they struck at the same time, Silly was hit harder. Why? The master asked. It doesn't matter. It was a waste of time asking. The coach grumbled when the guy let out a long, eh? Correct timing and high precision of strikes, the unshaven master continued to grumble. Choi-do punched a little faster, although his punching speed was slower, and this disrupted John's pace, although his punching speed was faster. Even though they were punching at the same time, Choi knew his opponent's movements well and turned his body faster, thus outpunching him. The same goes for the accuracy of the blows. He didn't hit just anywhere, but at painful and vulnerable spots. If you do the same, the opponent's strength no longer plays a role. Now they will practice these two things during training, but is it possible to do it in 2 months? The impudent guy wondered. In most cases it's impossible, but the guy might succeed. The unshaven master grumbled contentedly. Isn't there too much faith in him? The fighter suddenly began to doubt. Everything is fine. He won the matches with his talent, and now he needs to learn to use it. That was all. The old master stood up to continue loafing around somewhere. Get to work, he said sternly to the cheeky boy who also wanted to relax. Hui So quickly felt like a cabin boy on deck. Working on the ropes instantly made his hands tired. At first, the old master told him to pump up before training his skills, and the satisfied Taeyong happily accepted the fresh meat. He also trained according to the Barbara program, 15 pull-ups with a weight of 10 kilograms, 30 push-ups, with a 10-weight pancake on your back, 40 times on the press, also with a pancake. The stomach almost bursts in two from this. 50 times a weighted stand, always with the same damn pancake. 70 movements with ropes and rubber bands for resistance. All of this was considered one approach, which had to be completed as quickly as possible, with 2 minutes of rest between approaches, for a total of 5 circles. With each circle of hell, the body slowed down and the rest time increased until the murderer Taeyeon shouted stop. But open the air intake. Breathe through your nose, the training maniac demanded discontentedly. But whatever you do for the sake of victory, after it, he will definitely strangle him, the daring fighter promised himself. Look, my arms are already falling off, complained Hui. So, and it really is shaking, said Taeyong in a sympathetic voice. How much longer do I have to do this? The guy groaned. The boss said to squeeze him dry 3 times a week. The exercise fan scratched his beard. The daring fighter was horrified 3 times. You also think it's not enough? Taeyeon approved of such initiative. He recently learned from overwork that you can even lose muscles when you study, Hui So said, but Taeyeon promised to take care of it. But from such care, for some reason, the load only became greater. Finished, asked their old master from afar. They squeezed me out like a sheet. Not a drop was left, the exercise maniac reported. Good job, the master grumbled. Great job on the warm-up. Now the real training will begin, said the old slacker. First, exercises with a punching bag. He told Young Hwan to show him how to do it. Young Hwan lightly hit the punching bag and it bounced back with a spring, always returning after the blow. To avoid being hit by the punching bag, Young Hwan moved his head to the side. He moved deftly from left to right and delivered precise blows to the punching bag. This training comes from boxing. It works on the accuracy and timing of punches. If he can work as well as Young Hwan, he will become stronger. The cheeky guy immediately decided to try and lightly hit the pair. But on the return, he hit not the center, but the edge of the pair, and it bounced to the side, diagonally. It's hard, isn't it? The master grumbled. All because he sees her as a stationary target. And the guy doesn't have the right balance, he needs to learn control. The next stage of tap ball, an ideal exercise for improving accuracy and the dynamics of visual sharpness and counterattacks, was demonstrated by young Hwan. The ball was tied to the head, and after the hit it kept flying towards the face. If Young Hwan moved, the ball would also fly at strange angles. He quickly hit the ball so that it flew towards the cheeky guy, enough to scare him. "It's scary," said Hui. "So, because small and fast it's just a sponge," grumbled the unshaven master. "Ho, quite good." The daring athlete also decided to try, but praised himself prematurely. He immediately began to fool around as if he had received a new toy. "What a blockhead," thought the old master. "It's amazing that the pros use such a size," Young Hwan admired, looking at his daring friend. "He really is a genius." "Right now, forehead," the old coach suddenly shouted, which confused the guy. But Hui So still didn't lose his coordination and accurately directed the ball. On one of the bounces, the ball was flying too fast when Hui So got going. So he dodged at the last second, and the sponge hit to Yan's face. Oh, the cheeky guy thought. "It seems like someone still has some strength left," the coach grinned menacingly. "Now stand still." The training immediately turned into a farce. Like children, the unshaven master grumbled to himself. The ball not only moves quickly, but also flies in a curve. But the sharp-eyed guy recognized it and managed to dodge it, he noticed. Now he confirmed his suspicions. "The guy has special eyes. All that remains is to open them," the old master grumbled contentedly. But when this training turned into this circus with horses, the unshaven master frowned with displeasure. Due to fatigue, he came home by bus and had no strength left to walk. How it breaks? The guy trudged along sluggishly, stretching the stiff and wooden muscles of his neck. He's still not used to the punching bag, maybe only singles because of its strange trajectory. But if he had done it in one day, it would not have been interesting. There were still 2 months ahead, the guy thought when he saw a familiar silhouette. "Mom!" he called out to the cheerfully tired but beautiful woman. "What is she doing here so late?" the caring son worried. "She just met with friends," she quickly answered. "Okay," the guy thought, but sniffed suspiciously. "It seems like someone was eating barbecue," he said cheerfully, not understanding what was really going on. Apparently the smell had soaked into his clothes. The mother was confused. "Why was he returning so late?" asked his loving mother. "He has a match soon, a lot of training," the son answered contentedly. The match was so soon, she took his arm. "Didn't he want to pass the exam for a trainer's certificate first?" "Both," the son answered confidently. "It won't work that way. You won't be able to rest normally when the match is just around the corner," the loving mother grumbled. "It doesn't matter, he'll do it his way anyway." At first, she couldn't talk about it at all, but it seems she changed her mind. He looked at the tired woman. "Everything will be fine, Mom. Who cares about him?" "Let them beat him up there," the mother grumbled. "Oh, hen, they passed by the street food. Maybe take one," said the cheeky son, for he soon had a mass that reminded him of his mother. "There is no need to lose weight anymore. You can take one at a time." He ran briskly to the counter. "He already has a healthy forehead, but he's such a fool," she looked after him. "It looks like I should buy some perfume," she thought, sniffing her clothes. Everyone was given sheets of paper. The examiner's voice was heard. Then proceed. Hui So began the test. He came back, he told Taeyong. When he arrived, he felt even more exhausted than after training with him. "I failed it well?" he asked mockingly. "It will be clear in a week." The athlete scratched his head. Okay. Let's focus on training." The strength training fanatic was looking forward to winning a bet. Hui So showed excellent skills. The bag was now much easier to handle. "How are you?" The lazy master has returned from lunch, Taeyong noted well. "But too sensitive and sluggish," he said. "Nothing can be done about it since he is at this stage," the old master grumbled. "There are 2 most difficult stages in weight control. The first is dehydration. With the loss of water, a person becomes weaker, no matter how strong he was earlier. Afterwards, the strength will return. But now he needs to strengthen his muscles properly. And this is exactly the stage he is at. You can't take creatine. It retains water in the body. You need to maintain a diet. And the loads only become greater. But how he tries," Taeyong admired. "It must be a pleasure to teach him," the old master grumbled contentedly. "He keeps his word and gets stronger with each training session and listens much better than expected," the master said. "He is still young. We need to keep an eye on him so that he doesn't have a nervous breakdown," the old master strictly punished. Taeyong happily ran to the exhausted fighter. "Everything will be fine," he said. Although he himself was the main cause of stress, the master thought. "Dead? He's definitely dead already." Hui? So, sprawled on the floor, 5 days before the match. Give me some salt, his inner beast growled. Now he hated everyone who ate tasty food. Even though they had cut back on the workouts, he was still training with the bands and his hands were shaking like a longtime alcoholic's. You can't count how many trips to the toilet he made. His urine is cleaner than alpine mines. He checked himself into a medical center to make sure he was okay. Taeyeon knows how to keep his body in shape, but the training was still exhausting. Soft footsteps were heard nearby, and Huiso looked up tiredly. Cooling off, inserted a hairpin, a cheeky thorn. "Look who's talking," he answered rudely, to the sweet girl who was worried about him. He was really angry, Yujin thought, but she understood his state perfectly well. She waited a minute for him to realize what nonsense he had said. "Whew, that's true," the guy muttered with dry lips. Now they had changed places, and he himself felt what it was like to lose weight intensively. Here, she threw a bone, a small bundle, onto the ground, like to a mad dog. "It will help to satisfy hunger for a while," said the thorn as he unwrapped the bundle of nuts. The small nuts, and even carefully peeled ones, were appreciated by the daring guy as a gift. Since she still hadn't gone home, she was sitting in the break room and chatting, he imagined. "Give it back if you don't want it," the thorn said sharply as always, but the guy quickly swallowed the entire contents. "I don't feel anything," my hungry and exhausted body rebelled. "But thanks for your concern." He managed to smile with lips chapped from dehydration. "Nothing special." The girl waved it off. She gave away the rest as usual. The cheeky guy grinned weakly. Oh, she felt embarrassed. What a blockhead. The girl became embarrassed and blushed slightly. "It doesn't matter," she replied sharply and turned to run. "Let's have dinner after the match," he suggested after her. "And what else?" the thorn muttered and quickly retreated. "It's so cute to be angry," the simple-minded guy laughed, not understanding the reasons at all. "It's hard to even laugh. It's time to go home." He slowly rose to his feet. Who could be calling at such a time? He felt a vibration in his pocket. "Yes, Dad." He picked up the phone with anxiety. His father didn't call without a good reason. "What happened?" he asked, after they exchanged greetings. "Where is he now?" Everything inside him went cold and shrank. In intensive care, Hui So heard. He rushed into the hospital, forgetting about fatigue and exhaustion. He was so worried and in a hurry. "Patient Lee Kok-wook," he shouted throughout the emergency room. "What are you yelling about?" My father's familiar voice called from behind, cheerful as always. "Someone might think that he is already dead," grumbled the father. "What a disgrace," he said about himself, sitting on the bed bandaged like a Hindu. What happened? That his son showered him with a hail of questions? "Be quiet. There are other people here too," his father reassured him. It doesn't matter now, the caring son dismissed all objections. "Wait, what kind of clothes are these?" he noticed, his father's unusual robe. "He left today in a shirt and trousers," Hui So noticed, and suspicions crept into his head. "Let's talk somewhere else," my father said heavily. He clearly didn't want to tell, but there was nothing he could do now. They sat down away from people, in a quiet place where they could talk calmly. "What happened to the last job?" asked Hui. "So," the market decided, "he knows how it happens," the father smiled. "And that's why he went to the construction site," the son realized. "There are unpaid debts. You can't be unemployed," the father answered reservedly. "In a few years, everything will settle down. Don't worry," he reassured his son. But how could he not be worried if they were in the hospital? Another terrible guess crept into his head when he compared the past and the present. "Mother also works," Hui So's heart sank. His father admitted correctly, "in a restaurant." Why didn't they say anything? The loving son was upset. "Forgive me," he said to his father. "Why all of a sudden? What kind of regrets?" The parent was surprised. For so many years they paid for his coaches. All parents do that. He has no talent, and sport is not his thing. He should have left earlier, he muttered. Grandma told him that he needed to leave, but his parents insisted that he continue to study, and now the family is in debt. They believed that once the expenses were recouped, life would become easier, Huiso recalled. But he still failed. "I want to become someone my parents can rely on," the guy blurted out. Li Hui. So, his father cut off his tirade angrily and sternly. They didn't do this for him to whine now. Or maybe he thinks that it would be better if he made a different decision. The father got angry. They didn't follow anyone's whim. It was their conscious decision, the father answered calmly. No one will blame him regardless of the results, especially since he was a schoolboy before and could not make such decisions. "Son, there is nothing special about us. Every person faces their own difficulties if he puts a strong and warm hand on his shoulder. It's part of life's journey, lack of money, trauma, and everything that hasn't happened yet. Everyone is healthy, and they have a responsible son. One day all the financial difficulties will also be solved, the parent confidently declared. Live with pride for your family, he said. And Hui So almost cried, a bitter lump rising in his throat. He raised his hand to his face to brush away involuntary tears. The last thing he needed was to start crying like a little girl. How's your head? He asked, calming down. He thought he wouldn't ask anymore. He answered about his father. Well, they bandaged him. He looked into the phone camera. Mother is probably going crazy, said the guy. Don't worry, father will soon go on a business trip to the countryside, the parent reassured. Enough. Enough about that. He has to study tomorrow, go home, no one is dying, put him out on his father. There's nothing to be done anyway, the cheeky guy sighed. Where does mother work? He asked. It would be better not to go to her. She would be embarrassed, father warned. I'll watch from afar, since I've already learned about everything, answered the loving son. If you're ready, go now. Your shift will soon be over, his father told him. Huiso managed to catch her at work. What are you thinking about, friend? Don't you want to go home? Her colleague asked the middle-aged but still beautiful woman. The loving son looked out the restaurant window from afar, his heart bleeding, but he could do nothing. Mom is working hard again for his well-being, he reproached himself. He works so hard at work, but at home he doesn't show it at all. The guy was angry with himself. Just wait a little longer, dear mother. He clenched his fists. He was sure to win this match. Deep inside, he was burning with hellfire. The next day, he worked for 10 men, filled with cold rage. The blows exploded in dry pops on the training pause. The trainer could barely keep up with him. A blow, a dodge, Hui So moved like a clockwork toy without losing the sharpness of his movements. He saw all the blows that were flying at him and easily dodged them. Bam! There followed a powerful counterattack that almost knocked out the assistant. Why did he get so worked up? The old master noticed the change in his mood. Taeyong shrugged his shoulders, wondering himself. Just yesterday, he was whining and complaining of fatigue. Don't overexert yourself, Hui. So, the match is coming soon, the unshaven master shouted to the impudent fighter. It's not clear how this happened, the old master noted with satisfaction. But the guy not only became morally stronger, he also began to move with minimal effort. He follows Taijun's timings, or rather, even reads them, the old master analyzed. Excellent, he grumbled contentedly. The boy is developing. Bam! The glove on Taijun's hand flew far away from the powerful blow. Show me what this crazy guy can do, the unshaven master grumbled to himself. On the day of weighing, I joyfully raised my hands when the scale stopped at 70.5 kilograms. The stocky Japanese also passed the weigh-in without any problems. Stir down, they took a stance. The Japanese looked shorter, but more massive accordingly. He looks impressive, the cheeky guy noted after examining his opponent. Maybe it's because he doesn't need to lose weight that much. Watching from above was even more interesting. For the first time, he fought with someone shorter than him. There was just one problem. His tank was leaking. Suzuki grinned terribly and muttered under his breath. Do you think that your opponent is a punching bag or something? Or something crazy, said the impudent guy. Luckily, the Japanese guy didn't understand a thing about Korean and just stared at Huiso. That was it. The referee separated them in different directions, ending the stare down. Huiso looked great in his best form and looked confidently at his opponent. The abnormal person feigned shyness and modesty. Why are you picking on him? Sun Hoon asked the cheeky guy who started it. But he justified himself. What did he do? Asked the coach, grinding his teeth and muttering. Giving me goosebumps, said Hui. So, he really is as strange as they say. It seemed like he didn't care who was in front of him, as long as he could be beaten, the boy thought, and was grateful for that. Because that definitely won't happen on match day, he'll be able to focus on destroying the opponent. Good shots. Now rest, Sung Hoon told him on the day of the match, after warming up in the locker room. The cheeky guy sighed with relief and sat down on the bench. He was completely calm. What are you thinking about? He's been quiet for a while today, the unshaven master asked him. For once, the lazy master paid attention to him. Unusually, the guy quipped. Your tongue is your enemy, the trainer grumbled. Nothing of the sort, the cheeky boy replied. This fight will prove his worth as a fighter. He thought about the old master's words. What is its real value? The daring fighter asked himself. The boy raised his finger up meaningfully. What an impudent fellow, thought the master. Nobody likes spoilers, said the cheeky guy to the lazy master. You're behaving as insolently as always, but without spoilers it's more interesting, the unshaven master agreed. We're waiting for your performance, he grumbled contentedly. 10 minutes. The organization's assistant interrupted them. Their exit. Let's have some beer and fried chicken after his win, the unshaven coach said. The master will treat you, the impudent fighter agreed and smiled. In the blue corner is the star newcomer Li Hui. So, the audience greets him with loud applause. The hosts commented on the match. This time he has a tough opponent. He has 7 wins under his belt in the lightweight division. In the red corner, a living Mitsubishi Suzuki engine, wearing a Hani mask, enters the ring. He always fights hard. The match lasts 15 minutes. There is enough time. Don't get into trouble. The more skirmishes, the calmer you need to be, the unshaven master gave the parting words. Go ahead, make a cutlet out of him, he wished the fighter. If you fail again, you won't see any more contracts, reminded Suzuki, his mustachioed coach. The fighters came to the middle, the referee called them, and they stood opposite each other. They are both so different, it's surprising that they are in the same weight class, the presenters talked. Suzuki won't have an easy time in this fight, but who knows, he's knocked out opponents bigger than Li Hui so. Besides, the Japanese has much more experience in fighting than the newcomer. Matches of physical strength versus experience, the leading commentators discussed. The referee gave the command to fight, and both fighters began to move in a circle, studying each other. Suzuki opened the fight first, landing a direct hit on Huiso's guard. He immediately went into a series of blows, judging the correct distance. Tall Huiso had to quickly duck under heavy blows. As soon as I bent down, a powerful uppercut was aimed at my head and flew past my chin by a hair. Huiso dodged with his upper body, saving his strength. The blows whistled, scratching the tip of the nose. Each one could be the last. With perfect timing, Huiso fired a straight left to stop his opponent. And then he immediately moved the attack downwards, adding a low kick to the shin. Suzuki's calf muscle went numb from the stinging blow. But the stubborn Japanese, on the contrary, took a step forward and attacked from above. A hand slid across the back of his head, as Huiso moved his head just a little to avoid the blow. Using his footwork, the daring guy circled around his opponent. Both fighters demonstrated excellent defensive and offensive skills. Huiso watched the Japanese man closely, recalling their common historical past. Mitsubishi drove like a tank straight ahead with powerful right hooks. Strike, defend, he left no gaps for Huiso to counterattack. The Japanese fired a straight punch and immediately closed the distance between them. He kept trying to break through the brazen guy's defense, but he diligently dodged all the blows. With each swing, the driven fighter got closer and closer to him. Until he finally hit the block with his sledgehammer, the audience exploded in applause. The powerful blow sent the daring guy flying back towards the net. Having driven his opponent into a corner, Mitsubishi began to rain blows on his rival. Huiso leaned his body forward and rested his hands on the Japanese man's chest. With one movement, he pushed the striker away and stepped out of the corner. But the stocky Japanese did not let go of him, also moving with the blow. It's so much fun to beat people up, his inner voice went crazy. Huiso was pinned down again, and a hail of gunfire pounded his body. The Japanese man's mustachioed trainer got excited again and became worried, although he had told the fighter to remain calm. The series of blows did not end. Mitsubishi was definitely in good shape, the commentators noticed. Too dangerous, said Song Hun. The blows fly low, the old master thought. It must be raining. No. He just lets himself be beaten, the unshaven master suddenly realized. Look closely, he said to Song Hun. They both saw how well the guy was holding up. Like the swinging pendulum of a metronome, Huiso counted the strokes of the cylinders. The Japanese man's strike, defense, and pistons were practiced on his blocks. The tact, the high consistency, the strong and weak blows, he felt them all. Suzuki was really going wild. Huiso counted the gaps and combinations. He waited patiently. Mitsubishi showed no sign of getting tired and made ever wider swings, as if anticipating victory. He moved quickly and efficiently, like a professional, which is what it takes to read. The metronome froze in the middle of the beat, and now Huiso felt the right moment. A razor blow cut off the chin of the psychotic opponent. He stopped, froze as if he had been nailed to the floor, having received a blow he did not expect. And then he got a bad mark, his head jerked like a toy. The Mitsubishi leaned back as if its engine had crashed into a pole at high speed. Here it is, the old master grumbled. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Everything happened so quickly that the spectators did not notice all the blows, but saw how the stocky opponent fell into the ring. He held up well, the master praised the daring guy. It was lucky that he was throwing punches thoughtlessly, and it became easier to calculate him. Li Hui. So asks for a standing ovation from the audience, the commentators chattered. Is there a more relaxed fighter? The cheeky boy turned his gaze to the madman below and brazenly pointed his finger at him. No, no, he waved brazenly. Don't even think about getting up, he mocked his opponent. Get up, we'll kill him, get up! The voices in my head were shouting in unison. Kill, kill immediately. Mitsubishi went completely crazy from shock. Get up, the referee ordered the Japanese man, who was hesitating. They stood opposite each other again, but now a completely different atmosphere surrounded them. This time, Li Huiso attacked first, confident in his advantage. Keeping his distance, he fired at the enemy from a long distance, using his height and speed. Why are you standing there? Don't you want to come closer? Huiso mentally asked his opponent. Or he had already given up. A powerful uppercut broke through the defense and removed the block. The one-sided fight infuriated the Japanese even more. Unable to withstand the shelling, he rushed forward, ignoring the possible consequences. Excellent. That's a strike, catching the rhythm perfectly. Hui. So countered with an uppercut to the jaw. Let me get to know you better, the fighter thought. The strong neck absorbed the impact, distributing the damage throughout the body, but the blow was still painful. The Japanese tried to counterattack himself, but received a second blow, a right to the side. And the left finishing blow, even at close range, was not normal enough to enter into an equal exchange. He earned a second fall. If he gets another one, he automatically loses. The Japanese quickly tried to get back on his feet, despite the severe concussion. But before he could do this, a sharp knee blow was already flying towards his head. The knee could have dug into his head and he flew back again. There was nowhere to retreat. My back was pressed against the net, and the match turned out in a mirror image. Gritting his teeth, the crazy Japanese could only wait for the next attacks. A second flying knee strike to a stationary target sealed the deal. Huiso didn't give his crazy opponent a chance to respond, breaking his turtle defense. Each blow was heavier than the previous one. The daring guy hit with all his body weight. Having pinned him with his hands from below, Huiso moved the attack to the top, delivering a high kick to the head. Even with his defense up, the opponent was receiving damage. The Mitsubishi's body skidded to the left due to the momentum of the impact. As if that wasn't enough, his opponent froze in front of him. Huiso raised his hands and stood within striking distance of his opponent, mocking him. Kill! Kill! Kill quickly! The voices tormented the freak with anger. The cheeky guy smiled mischievously. He was in complete control of the battlefield. The raised hand shot out sharply, but Mitsubishi managed to dodge. He immediately tried to strike in a jump, stepping towards Huiso. A wide swing slid past the daring fighter, a couple of centimeters away. Of course he will dodge. The crazy fighter expected this. Here's a real punch. He fired a long straight right. Just in time, at the last moment, Huiso simply moved his head out of the line of attack. Even such an unexpected trick didn't work on the sharp-eyed guy. The crazy guy became worried. Huiso easily slid into long range, where he could once again deliver multiple blows with impunity. Hey, what nonsense? Huiso looked at the helpless Japanese man with disdain. No, no, he shook his finger again, making it clear that he couldn't do anything. The punctured fuel tank began to whistle loudly. Mitsubishi could not bear such a disgrace. At that very moment, he rushed forward without any plan or calculation, relying on blind chance. Huiso clearly saw the wild, wide movements of the abnormal one and deftly dodged. The smile never left the face of the daring guy. He was not at all afraid of his opponent's destructive moves. All attacks failed. The stocky fighter panicked and couldn't understand why. Huiso dodged so easily, as if he was dancing. He moved flexibly and elastically. A middle kick with the speed of the wind cut through the torso of the crazy Japanese. Huiso raised his leg for another middle kick, and his opponent cowered in advance. But instead, he simply made some random movements with his leg to confuse his opponent. Now he's just having fun. He doesn't even let me take a step, the old coach grumbled contentedly. No, this was the third time the impudent guy mercilessly teased his opponent. Zo! The Japanese man shouted, and all his valves finally blew. Don't fall for provocations, the mustachioed coach advised, but it made no sense. The stocky freak went into disuse, forgetting about protection, and about everything except his hatred. Huiso moved easily along the line of a wide, drawn-out strike. The counterattack penetrated the skull with a leaking roof. The Mitsubishi received double damage. He fell for the third time, and Huiso didn't let go of this opportunity. The Japanese man's battered face was swollen like a beetroot from bruises. Suddenly he felt a fear he had never experienced before. Hell was empty. All the demons had gathered here. They came for him. Huiso's elbow slashed from above. You're angry. Good, get even angrier, thought Hui. So as he destroyed his opponent, he needs to feel with his whole body what it's like to be beaten half to death, the way he loves. Hui So's blows chopped. All this time the freak was doing exactly this in the ring. The fight turned into a bloody massacre. Mitsubishi let go of his defenses. He lay there completely stunned, his eyes rolling back. The referee shouted stop. The last hammer blow sank into the ring near the Japanese man's head. Demon Hui. So came to his senses. The fight was over. The referee covered the defeated fighter with his body. Li Hui So wins another fight by knockout in the first round. The commentators go crazy. A fighter who hasn't even spent a year in the ring has burst into the lightweight category rankings. Li Hui So won the fight at 3 minutes and 38 seconds into the first round via technical knockout. Just look at these headlines. Taeyeon was scrolling through the news feed. How could the viewers not appreciate such a bright fight? Song Hoon also changed and allowed himself to relax. He was not like this before, the old master noticed. It was unusual to see the always stern and picky eyebrow-twirling match winner. Excellent, the unshaven master heard the impudent guy's cry. What has already happened? The old master grumbled. The test results have arrived, the excited fighter answered. Passed, the confident guy declared. 2 wins out of 2. It seems it's time to look for documents and find out what the weather will be like. The impudent guy dreamed, not noticing how Song Hoon and Taeyong slowly moved away. The cheeky guy started calling his mother and chatting happily about his victory and future trips. What are we going to do? The coaches whispered conspiratorially. It's not his concern, the old master grumbled. He didn't think he'd get through, Taeyeon lamented. Hui Seo didn't take into account that after the written test, there would be an oral and practical exam. In other words, he wouldn't be able to make it to Yeon Kun's match. What do they know about pain? Hui. So is sprawled in the middle of the ruins of a castle in the air. The dream of going abroad has just collapsed. What's wrong with him? He looks like a dead fish, asked Yeon Kun. Will it take a long time? His comrade reassured him. Sung Hoon dared to approach the athlete who was disappointed in people and life. Oh, mister, who eventually became the second coach, the impudent guy greeted without hiding his envy and indignation. Of course, he himself is a fool, since he believed that he could do everything in 4 months, the impudent fighter whined. In any case, since Song Hoon is busy, he is now entrusted to go to Yu Jin, the main slacker of the hall. The girl got sick, lives alone, there is no one to take care of her, the trainer explained. But why him? The fighter answered sourly. There are plenty of other guys. Go to Yu Jin. The other guys perked up, vying with each other to offer themselves as guardians. It is precisely because he doesn't want to that he has to do it, Song Hoon said sternly. Others will simply eat her up. Since his match just ended, he had nothing to do anyway, so he might as well go and have some fun. Song Hoon handed over the corporate card for expenses. Got it. The cheeky guy resigned himself. Can I buy something for myself? He asked, and Sun Hoon gave the go-ahead. The main thing is to bring the receipt. I'm counting on you. Song Hoon saw him off and the guy headed off to visit. The apartment is on the top floor and the girl knows how to live successfully. The impudent guy envied. He came to visit a friend and greeted the concierge. This door, he quickly found his bearings with the address in his phone and rang the bell. Someone got tired of living there. A sick sparrow crawled out. What a look. At least she could have combed her hair. The cheeky guy said, hello. Ah, the alarmed sparrow defended. The girl did not expect to see him outside the door. She slammed the door loudly right in front of his nose, and the mouse hid in its hole. That's how she receives guests, the tactless guy grumbled. While she was going crazy, trapped in her own home, the girl was breathing heavily. Was he following her? The gray mouse squeaked. No, it was just Song Hoon who gave him the address and told him to check in, the guy explained. Why didn't you warn me? She squealed angrily. Didn't Song Hoon call her? The guy weakly justified himself. Big deal. The house is a mess. He came for nothing, the guy grumbled. And she told him to shut up, thinking about how to reduce the scale of the disaster. And they said that she was sick, but she herself caused a stir. The impudent guy grumbled at the door. Come in, since you came. The gray sick mouse ruffled his feathers. Don't look around. Don't look under your feet either. It's better to gouge out your eyes, grumbled the embarrassed mouse. Oh, familiar methods. He assessed the pile of unwashed dishes covered with a towel in the sink. Don't go to bed yet, eat well. But the mouse was in a hurry to burrow into a warm nest. Even when sick, one must move and eat, insisted the cheeky guy, asking where the portable table was. Behind the kitchen, the mouse muttered, she was so weak that she had no strength for barbs or embarrassment. And he loves to eat, the sick cutie noticed. watching him gobble up the porridge he brought. While she was watching, her stomach also began to rumble. Now she was behaving so quietly, Hui So smiled. The mouse slowly brought the spoon to his mouth and began to eat. In other circumstances, it would have bristled with thorns and would not have even let him across the threshold. He certainly thought about having lunch together, but who would have known that they would eat like this, the cheeky guy noticed, and the mouse also smiled sweetly. He asked the girl how long she had been ill, and she said that 3 days ago, yesterday was the worst. Wait, so she hasn't washed since then? That's why she has a nest on her head. The impudent guy took advantage of her lack of weapons. But she washed herself, just smell it. He theatrically plugged his nose, although the aroma of chocolate and cherries intoxicated him. Even more exhausted because of the blockhead, the girl leaned back on the side of the bed, her eyes closing on their own. But it's good that someone visited her, the sick mouse blurted out in a moment of weakness. It's just a pity that it was him, but it will do. She returned all the barbs to him. I saw the match, the girl muttered. That's true. The guy forced a smile. Even when she got sick, she didn't look at me. Leave it, she said softly. Well done. She sincerely congratulated the athlete. The fight surprised her. She knew he was not bad. But this was a completely different level, the mouse shared. How unusual it is to hear compliments from her, even awkward. He scratched the back of his head. She is definitely sick. Was the tired mouse surprised by such impudence? Why would she do something like that? The girl asked scornfully. However, she has something to say. The cutie looked away embarrassedly. She really did think he was an idiot, the sweet girl said harshly. Such directness made even the impudent guy freeze to the floor. These are some statements, Hui. So paused, thinking about how to respond. In principle, she didn't really hide her attitude. Even a stupid person would have guessed. Oh, really? The girl showed little remorse. But since she confessed, it means everything is not so bad at the moment, the guy cheered up. At first, she thought that he was taken unfairly. So he does whatever he wants and acts like a self-centered piece of ass, pinned Hui So. But it turned out to be something completely different. Her voice became timid and soft again. Still, he has skills and hard work, and his self-confidence is justified in places. Although he is still a boastful peacock, she continued. No, since you are praising, go on, the impudent guy insisted. I'm sorry, the girl said humbly. Come on, the athlete waved it off. This will only ruin their relationship. She did it not to amuse his vanity, but so as not to feel worse herself. The sick mouse mumbled weakly. What's wrong? He asked when the mouse finally lost all its strength. His firm, cool palm rested on her forehead, she thought for a second. So good. What is he doing? The hot mouse asked languidly as he touched his forehead for comparison. Stop grumbling. He lightly slapped her on the forehead, switching on the caring boyfriend mode. It seems like she's getting worse. She's been torturing herself so much before, and she's still sick, Hui So realized. Heavy loads, strict diets weaken the body, which is why the risk of getting sick is higher, 2 matches in less than a year, meetings with fans, etc. It wasn't easy for her, Hui So gently took her arm and helped her up. Take the pills, he gave her an antipyretic, and the hot cutie didn't argue. He softly wrapped the little mouse in the nest, and the girl quickly fell asleep. He looked at the cute little nose sticking out from under the blanket. Now it's time to tidy up the kitchen and living room, the guy decided. Idiot, she squeaked his name. Hui So, and the guy listened. Still not asleep, he asked. Thank you, the sick mouse whispered quietly. I don't hate you anymore. He heard honest words. The level of relations increased from negative to neutral. Although he is still a fool, she added with a sweet yawn. Hui So smiled. Even in his sleep, he says the same thing, which means he speaks sincerely, he realized. Having completed his duties in the kitchen, he wiped the sweat from his forehead. Well done on this part, said the caring guy. The forbidden door, the room of a lonely girl, rose before him. To be or not to be, that was the question, the impudent guy thought. She locked it securely. There can be no doubt what is there. He scratched his beard. Be that as it may, he took the risk of opening Pandora's box and looked inside. The wardrobe was full of unwashed clothes. It was a pigsty. The guy who lived with his mother at 23 was horrified. It's impossible to tell the clean from the dirty. Everything is mixed up. He assessed the scope of work. I'll wash everything. Having finished his business, he returned to the hall, quite tired of household chores. They were just looking for him. One of the coaches called him. What had already happened surprised Hui So. Blow quickly to the master. There is a tall guest who has come to see you, the athlete was informed. There were a couple of things to do, so I dropped in for a minute. The whole director of X1 was being disingenuous. "Why are you frozen as if you did something wrong?" asked his bearded grandfather. No, he was just surprised that the director came in person. The athlete apologized. He came to personally discuss the contract with the athlete, but the unshaven master insisted on being nearby. "This is some other contract." The guy rubbed the back of his head in confusion. He didn't really study at school. "The talk is about changing his current contract," the cunning director said. "SFC wants to take him over." The director stunned the guy with such a powerful statement that he didn't look very surprised, the cunning director stated. They suddenly contacted each other and demanded Huiso for themselves, even though he had barely made it through 3 matches. "But why didn't they contact them directly?" the impudent guy asked. Apparently, they decided to act politely. After all, the organizations exchanged many fighters. Still, he hopes that Huiso will refuse this offer. It is difficult even for home champions to survive in SFC, and it is also difficult to attract the attention of viewers. "It's more profitable to stay here," said the director. He won't stop him from leaving, but he'll be glad if Huiso refuses. They make good money on him. "Of course the conditions in X1 will be better," the director promised, and the impudent guy pricked up his ears. A permanent salary of 8 million, plus a 100% bonus for winning. The fighter's eyes widened when they told him the amount. They had already discussed this matter with the old master, but it would be up to Huiso himself to decide. "Then let's trust Master Sanguk," the guy said. "Is there really nothing to say?" The unshaven trainer was surprised. If he could, he would sign everything right away, the fighter admitted. SFCs are not only good for the money offers. What about their reputation and prestige that is important to them? Sanguk asked. "They are the world arena. Any fighter as good as so will want to participate in it," the unshaven master insisted. "Now the competition is very high. There are a lot of fighters and they are exhausted to the point of losing their pulse. Where is the prestige?" the director objected. "These are the words of the spirit of the old men. But what will the other fighters say about this?" answered the unshaven master. "Opinions may differ. Just state your conditions," the director suggested. The starting conditions were 10 million, and the same for victory. The director heard their demands. "Isn't it too much, So looked doubtfully to offer such a salary to athletes of national level. "They really will have enough of this," I heard the surprised voice of director So. They seemed to be cautious in front of him. The director discouraged the athletes. 12 million, and the same for victory. He stunned them with a new offer, raising the required rate. 12, the athletes muttered in unison. Not believing their ears, the total had grown by a third from the starting point. "He will also introduce them to a sponsor, so that they will receive about 30 million more a year," the cunning director suggested thoughtfully. "Of course, everything is not free. He will get this money if he wins the match, but what if he loses?" So clarified. "Let's make do with 10 for participation and 10 for winning, as Sanguk suggested," the director reasoned. "They will still be the winners in any case." "What's the catch?" The old master didn't believe in such generosity, but the director raised his hands. So far, he can't reveal all the details. But now, he is preparing for something, and he hopes that Huiso will become a part of it. The director narrowed his eyes slyly. "But what is he talking about?" Sanguk asked. "The market will soon expand, but it is a risky bet. Everything will work out if it goes according to plan," the director said. He couldn't say anything else, but they certainly had nothing to lose, the director assured them, and Huiso was already wagging his tail to sign while the master was thinking. "They agree," the director heard and beamed like a saint. It was not for nothing that he came here personally. Tomorrow he will send a rough version of the contract. The conditions will change, so they will receive the final version after the match.